All right, welcome in. We are live. We are back the Friday after Thanksgiving, settling in for hopefully, a good post-Thanksgiving weekend. Hey, yo, the REMINGTOM pod on sale this weekend. You guys had better jump in for the live stream, of course, while it's affordable. Hey, yo, it is what it is. But the sports world is, alive and well here on a Friday night. We've got basically a lot of, we've got all the sports, football, basketball, I guess no baseball, of course, shout out. It is what it is. But we've had almost a full week of NFL as well, too, of course, off of the Thanksgiving day. Now the Black Friday game inserted in there, too. Just in the part of, hot take here. I'm sure we're not the only ones complaining about this, but the fact that it's just a random 2 p.m. game, shout out, it's a big day for Prime now in general, just because, with the shopping holiday in general, it is what it is. We're just feeding our demise. But the sports now with the Prime accounts is just added. It's just like lock it in. It is what it is. Now if we weren't already going to spend money, it's like if I can't buy anything, I want to be wise. I want to save money, but not necessarily going to be shopping. Well, but guess what I am going to be doing? Watching football and basketball. So I guess it's on Prime now. It is what it is. I'm just going to be on Prime anyways on Black Friday. Shout out. But, maybe for once, kind of a win for the NBA. I don't know. NBA's got to take the night games, and the NFL's got to take the late afternoon slot, because it is, decent teams as well, too. You got good market teams in there. I say decent teams. The Bears probably a better market team than they are actually good, but who knows? They have a good record, and is the market value like top 5 or is it top 10? Because, again, they could be like the 6th best record in the league this year. That type of range for them on the Forbes list would seem reasonable. And to be honest, I guess, like we said, a lot of catch up on, a lot to, stay up with as well, too. Oh, and there we go. Speaking of, I was like, we didn't even see the score because, make no mistake, shout out. Maybe 2025, I guess 2026, right around the corner. Maybe the next commitment, and maybe for, restaurant establishments and places out there that are, way ahead of the game already, having the logins for the different events is, of course, going to be a necessity now with the way that these things are being distributed across the different platforms. I don't know if the Packers would have more fans. I don't really know. And you do have there is like a weird, not weird, but, just for, again, geography-wise, there is like a very strong Broncos contingency in the Midwest here, and there is, I would say, like a lot of, Steelers are a pretty national brand as well too, so there is quite a few Steelers fans, but all of the sort of NFC North teams just being in that location is going to be mostly in the mix. And I guess with the last couple of years now as well too, you do, shocker, you do see quite a few Chiefs fans in the mix now, though I would say that they, and maybe with respect to the Chiefs, shout out, of course, I don't know, we could get into them as well too. We have to talk about them in the past tense. The dynasty is over. It is what it is. They're 500. It's 6-6. They're halfway through the year. But the bandwagonness for that team. Make no mistake. The popularity of the main guys like Kelsey Mahomes. Kelsey got so popular. He's marrying Taylor Swift. But the actual people, like, you're going on the streets and seeing everybody wearing Chiefs stuff in the same way that maybe some of the bandwagon teams in the past have been. It doesn't quite feel like, again, it has shifted that much from a national standpoint. Feels like the Chiefs fan base is still kind of the Chiefs fan base. Maybe they've swung some independent fans, I don't know, or maybe some fans that haven't been fans over the last couple of years, like, well, I guess I'll be fans now because we're winning all these Super Bowls. It is what it is. So I guess they can go, back to not watching, just back to hanging out and not having to worry about football. It is what it is. I don't know, maybe that first season where you kind of have to be like, oh man, is this really standpoint? Are the Chiefs, like, are they crumbling? Is the institution of Kansas City crumbling? There has been, of course, a lot of people hired off, you would imagine, not just even in the coaching staff, but again, because of how well that front office and that organization was run, just a lot of people in the actual front office part of it have gone on to manage parts of teams as well too. So there is just a different, there's a lot of different people in the organization as well too now than in the past. So it is different. Just, same, maybe a couple of the same main leadership pieces, which is always going to be, at the end of the day, what it is. But still, like we're saying, this team this year, I think, it's like, okay, it's starting to definitely, even for the irrational people, and not even for the irrational people, but I think for, just because, again, with the way the AFC has looked, you do have a little bit of the changing of the guard right now. And even, as good as the Patriots are playing in Drake May, it's still not necessarily just you throw the Patriots out there on a field with Kansas City. And, Kansas City 6-6, I guess they are, are they one win away or one loss away from the playoff commissioner guy making another joke about a team's record or playoff seeding? I don't know. Chiefs are almost 6-7. If they lose next week, I'm not sure. But the again, the sort of competitive nature of the team, there is a little bit of them not closing out the games. I mean, we could, start pointing fingers at some of the higher, respected players of the team as well, too. Be like, why isn't Mahomes playing as well as he has been in the past? And, direct plays that have impacted the games. But for, again, for them being a little bit of a farther back in the standings this year than they have in the past, I wonder who is sort of the clear number one franchise at this point. Because they also, again, have been around for a while, so there's just a lot of legacy and familiarity with them. And a lot of these teams that are emerging now, just some new pieces in place. Like Vrabel does have that NFL, just in general, again, pedigree. Like, we know he's a good coach, but this still Patriots thing is a new experiment, and Drake May is still, again, in his second year as well, too. But, by the time Mahomes was in his second season as a starter anyway, so, maybe Drake May, his third year, will definitely have that, that pedigree going in as one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So Mahomes, just didn't have that first year, I guess, of the growing pains, just that Drake May did. Of course, he was able to work that stuff out on the sidelines, I guess. But the fact that still is a lot of turnover and some newer names in the organization there taking over and turning that thing around is, I don't know if it's a positive or not, but, is still how many seasons, what levels do they have to accomplish before they finally, before we look at that team and go, that's the standard of how to run a team in the NFL. Because, again, from a drafting standpoint, from a salary cap standpoint, and like we're saying, you still wouldn't look at the Chiefs and say they're necessarily a bad team. Again, the offensive line, I guess, shout out. I guess every quarterback needs a great offensive line, obviously. But, Mahomes, maybe, you can't call him an offensive line dependent quarterback. Again, it is what it is. Every quarterback's going to need protected. Pause. But the drafting and the ability to still replenish some of the stuff has still been pretty good. I mean, even the receiving core that they have, like we're saying, he's kind of been missing, he's been missing some throws. Like, they have guys that are getting open. I know they still, if we rank players against each other and just how we ever, how we compare it, like, there still are receiver upgrades, weapon upgrades that they could make, to their skill group set there. But for the most part, it is a group that you go, okay, yeah, if Mahomes is playing at the level that Mahomes has been playing at in the past, like, this is even a better group of skill guys than they've had, in years before. So he should be able to win in an okay amount with these guys. And I guess, also Philly as well, too. Howie Roseman, I guess, would be the other individual piece, I guess, as well, too. But I don't know if Howie Roseman, he's smart. Again, he's smart. He wins every trade. Like Sam Presti, and Howie Roseman get the comparisons a little bit. And, Presti, they're both, very similar, again, in the fact that they are just good at their jobs. Hey, it is what it is. But they're, they can both draft and find value in the trades as well, too. Sometimes it feels like you can be one or the other, or you just never, you kind of lean toward building one way or the other for your team as well, too. It's like, okay, we're not necessarily super aggressive with the trades. Because I guess, like in the NBA specifically, your trade, a lot of times in those trades, you're trading your picks and you have less picks. So if you're if you're going to be building your team through a trade, you're not going to be able to build your team through the draft. Versus the NFL, you have a little bit of leeway to, like, okay, maybe at the end of the draft, we're picking in the later rounds, or, again, some of this value, you're just trading like your fourths and your thirds and stuff for some of the guys. But I don't know if, and like I think we've said in the past, like maybe, we need to start like a school for these people, like the Howie Roseman School of GMing. I don't know if, how that works. And he could definitely be a guy that you would want to model your sort of how do you build a team after. But again, I don't know if you think of them as a sort of team that you can replicate, because, a little like OKC, not to say that, again, they've gotten lucky. Oh, chat. Hey, did we mention the Texas Texas A&M game that we have on in the background as well too. Hey, yo, it is what it is. We do have the college football primetime event on and are following along with that. And it does look like at the moment, Marcel Reid is on the ground with an injury. Oh, a non-contact. He planted something weird in he definitely hyperextended, the knee, leg. I don't know if it, of course, is going to result in any type of, you don't want to say the worst, or like was the hyperextension again, like which one was first. I guess we're not a doctor here, we need to maybe consult the internet for that, but regardless, the reaction to the injury and amount of time here trying to get him just situated to get him off the field is not necessarily just encouraging for this season as well too. You hate to say it for Texas A&M fans, but unfortunately, it is the moment that is happening right now. And also for just drafting standpoints as well, too. I mean, anytime, any injury at any point is going to be bad. But if you're just, thinking about the timeline of when it happens, like to be at this point in the college season, later in the college season, and the draft is, it's closer than you would think as well, too, especially, again, with the new year right around the corner. And just the whole process that you would have to go through to prepare for that. And I know that he's put up amazing tape this year. Oh, Chad, he's up and walking around. Hey, yo. So, again, I guess we don't want to jinx. We don't want to assume. We just want to hope that he's okay and that he's able to get back out on the field. But, yeah, I guess I don't know if he even is he a sophomore or is he a junior? I guess I would have just assumed that he was in the drafting eligibility here. But we might have to double check that. Hey, yo. Marcel Reid next year returning college quarterback would definitely be very terrifying, because again, he was, we could double check the odds as well too, but Heisman contender. I mean, they're third in the nation and 11-0, so he might be the Heisman guy as well too. But I want to say that one of his stat games recently wasn't like, again, like crazy. I guess I guess he was still really good in that game. They won 48-0. What do we have here? Oh, South Carolina. Yeah, he had 2 picks, but again, just still crazy game. Win against LSU, 202, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Again, just the overall performance from the team, very dominant. So yeah, he is a redshirt sophomore. So I know that they don't have him listed here on Tankathon, but if I'm reading the box score right, that would be draft eligible. I mean, that's 3 years. That this would be his 3rd season removed from high school football, which I think, do we have to reread the CBA? Hey, yo, that might be what it is. Oh, Texas! Did they block the field goal? Here we go. The maybe momentum play that they needed here. It's been a little stagnant in the game, and Texas A&M was, getting some the offense in rhythm a little bit, moving up and down the field. But clutch stop by Texas. You want to say that their special teams has been, near, I guess at times they've been able to make, again, game-changing plays. I guess we can't say play-to-play if they've been the best unit on the field, because the defense has been really good. I guess, it's just been various points of the season where I guess other players have excelled, and maybe that's, of course, the Texas just struggle of getting all the pieces, again, on sort of the same page, just at the right times this year, and, hopefully you're returning a lot of these guys next year as well, too, because I think it is a younger team. And, of course, speaking of returning quarterbacks, I mean, Arch Manning will be back this year. I guess, I don't know how encouraging the end of the season has been. Ooh, Marcel Reid sprinting around. Marcel Reid, Willis Reid. Hey, yo, chat, Marcel Willis Reid. I don't know what the nicknames are that are appropriate, but, hey, yo, we may still, have a chance for him to play yet. And the highly anticipated matchup that we want to see here is still possible. And it's, Texas A&M with a chance, again, with their record, to be in the SEC championship game if they win it. And Texas still fighting for playoff potential as well, too. Ranked 16th in the nation. And you imagine a win against a 3 seed undefeated would be, a pretty good resume booster as well. And for Arch Manning, I mean, specifically, again, with the way that he is playing here at the end of this season, a win against a number 3 Texas A&M at, undefeated, if Texas was good, it would still be a good performance, obviously. It would still help his draft stock and all this different stuff. But I don't know what you would prefer here at this point. If you would rather be, would you rather be undefeated in this game and then know that he goes into this game and has a bad game? And he hasn't necessarily had a great start tonight as well, too. 3 for 9, 19 yards. I mean, speaking of defenses, of course, I think the Texas A&M defense, we haven't kept up with the defensive stats this year, maybe like we should have, but I guess maybe now's the opportunity to correct that. We can look at their defensive per game here and see what they are registering. Because, again, with Marcel Reid being the sort of name value guy, you would think, are they an offensive team? And they are 10th in the nation in points per game as well, too. And 39th in defense. So, I don't know if points per game is everything. When you're scoring 38, you give up a late score that puts the teams to 21. Does that say something about the discipline of the defense? Who knows? But if they're giving up, the 10 to 14 for the most of the game, again, it's like, are the stats necessarily bearing that out? They're saying on the Pro Football Reference simple rating system, they've got them rated 5th in the nation as well, too. So a little bit different than their actual rankings, though close enough, anyways. And what do they have Texas at? Arch Manning takes off, slides on 3rd and 10, so they get the first down. Shout out. They have Texas at 23rd, so definitely a bigger discrepancy for Texas. And I would say that eye test wise would probably be accurate as well too. Yeah, their defense 25th in the nation. Offense is 50th. So, again, at 29 a game, it's not necessarily poor. They've definitely had those, performances against some of those opponents, we'll say respectfully the easier opponents, and they have definitely helped the stats in that way. But again, if he is a player that is just, I guess, in some ways lighting up the season, or maybe even having just, I guess to whatever degree, he's having a good year. But if Texas is winning a lot and they have to rely on him in this game and he plays bad, it does become a situation where, obviously the clutch question marks and all those things come into play. And maybe, again, with how good their record would be, it would be less impactful to their overall playoff hopes as well, too. But for him to, again, still have this path, I guess the point is they can still be as encouraged at the end of this season as they would be maybe if they were, I guess, maybe not if they were undefeated and winning, in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. Who knows? Or not the Super Bowl, the college championship. But the gradual sort of improvement that he has shown, and now in an opportunity to have a big moment, because I think that is sort of the last thing. He has, again, played a little bit more consistent against those opponents that you should have. I don't know if he's quite, has he been lighting up some, and, again, in the SEC, you're not really even getting, outside of a couple of games early in the season, you're not really getting a ton of easy games as well, too. But again, his ability to, like we're saying, just be a little bit more consistent over the course of these games has definitely improved. So if they have him actually swinging a couple of plays in a fourth quarter, and he can actually kind of put the team on the back a little bit, and maybe, like we're saying, I don't know if they're actually kind of settled into the fact that, they're not the team that they maybe thought they were at the beginning of the season, preseason ranked number 1. And again, a lot of that had to do with Arch Manning. If he is just this, if anybody is just this generational quarterback in college football, then yes, they're probably going to be a pretty good team. So it's safe to assume. And, again, he needed a couple of games, but this can just be the moment in that timeline. Because again, he will be back next year. It is what it is. So unless he plays really well here in the next 3 quarters and he gets drafted off of this game, we'll have to see. I guess it is a possibility. It is a possibility, but I would wonder if there would just be some college, how many guys get sort of caught up in the unfinished business, mentality of it as well, too, where they're like, we had to go back and win a national title. I guess shout out the Michigan guys did do that a little bit. And, the Ohio State guys are doing that kind of now, but it doesn't really count. Again, all the Michigan guys went into the league first. So it's like, obviously you're going to stay if all of your guys, if your best opponents are leaving, you're going to probably stay and try to compete. And make no mistake, what happens? I guess we only, college football for us last year stops the last week of the season. Michigan won against Ohio State, and I don't know what happened after that. It is what it is. So, shout out. I think college football might have stopped for us last week, honestly, this year. But, we'll see. Hopefully, I guess we're ranked better this year than we were last year. So, I don't know. Maybe that probably honestly just means, the other team is a little bit more ready to go, which is a little worrisome. But, again, honestly, it is what it is. They're the number one team in the nation, probably the best, most consistent team all year. So, again, I think it's fair to have a little bit of an eyebrow raise going into that game. But then, again, just the fact that, like, some of the guys that are on this team, they have to win. So we already did get, there is some guys, that there's like a full class there that didn't get the win. It is what it is. But there are some guys still that can be like, okay, we have to get a win this year. We have to get a win. This is our last chance. So that extra level of desperation, and maybe even Ryan Day himself, again, they're in the same spot. So pause. If Michigan gets the win in dramatic fashion and it's, number 5th, what happens? Sharon Moore now has Ryan Day's number. It's literally not going to matter because what's going to happen? They're going to get revved up again to go win another national title. And they're going to be mad enough to win against all these other high-level teams in the playoffs as well, too. It's going to be frustrating. So, Ohio State's just going to have to do a little bit more losing before the Michigan game, or Michigan's going to have to try to maybe win a couple of more games before the Ohio State game and then, maybe get them in the playoffs as well, too. I guess, again, Ohio State themselves could have something happen in the playoffs that, sends them home. But I guess, we're just assuming that's not going to happen. Hey, it is what it is. I think the odds would probably favor them at this point. Again, they have been pretty consistent. First scoreless first quarter since 1997. Oh, for Texas A&M and Texas. I was like, I don't know. I think Texas has had a couple of scoreless first quarters this year. Again, shout out. Maybe, in the games themselves, it's taken Arch Manning a little bit to get going. But the scrambling is being effective now. 3rd and 5. They've definitely, are being aggressive with the pressure. But he's being decisive, and if he's going to take that, again, the whole course of Arch Manning's narratives go into every single play. So it's like, okay, if he's running, he's not throwing, and if he's not throwing, he's not a generational quarterback. But he's got to, at the end of the day, take the best play that's available. So if that's going to be a wide open scrambling lane for a first down and 5 to 7 more yards after that, you probably got to just make that play. Like, who else takes that play? All the other mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, if they're, making the right play. And Josh Allen in the moment is probably going to take that play. So, and he's probably taking on the safety as well, too, for, a couple more yards after that. But, again, regardless, he's got to give himself the ability to get the defense off balance as well, too. And, how to attack him properly. If you're going to rattle him with the pressure, and force, if you're going to be forcing him to make bad throws, again, you're going to be sending that pressure, and at some point, he's just going to kind of get too rattled at that point as well, too, if he's resorting to that. But just saying, like, they're throwing the pressure and he's struggling as well. If they're throwing the pressure and he's dicing him up, obviously they're going to drop out of that, and then, maybe the lanes wouldn't quite be there in the same way, but or maybe they would be. Again, you just, I guess would have to actually talk to a coach, maybe not us. It is what it is. But they have taken a couple of down the field shots here as they got inside the mid-range. The last possession ended on a play that probably should have been a pass interference as well, too. We should mention that. So their last drive probably should have still kept going. I know it maybe wasn't the best look by Arch on that, but I think maybe this throw was a little underthrown as well, too. He did let the defender get in there and make a play on it. If he does lead the receiver a little bit more there, I think that could, I don't know if it's a touchdown, but again, I think he's able to make that throw. So running back around the corner is able to continue to get the first down. Good gain of yardage there for the Texas offensive line. But like we're saying, the last possession still, the fact that the double team was there and being as aggressive as they were, it was, and I guess in the NFL as well too, you get the spot foul advantage, but regardless, they weren't able to have it happen. So maybe that's what the missed field goal was actually karma for. Or not the missed field goal, the block field goal was sort of somebody was, inspired on this play because of the fact that they got a bad call on the other end of the possession as well. So it ultimately keeps the game at the same score. I guess maybe that proves they would have only gotten a field goal out of that throw as well too, because that got him into the red zone area. But I don't think it necessarily, it wouldn't have been a scoring play if he had completed the pass interference. Or, again, if it was pass interference, it would have just been 15 yards in college. So, maybe it's a longer field goal than we thought. I don't know. But regardless, I guess they only would have gotten 3 points because that's what Texas A&M was going for when theirs was blocked. So 0-0, 3rd and 6, and they're kind of back in field goal range now as well too. And it does seem like Texas has had a couple of these games on the road as well too. I know, did they have Oklahoma in Texas? Maybe they went to Oklahoma for that. Here, let's pull up that Texas schedule real quick, because I want to say they went to Alabama and they went to Ohio State, which is pretty crazy. You know, again, I don't know if this means next year. Maybe this is one of those best case scenario, not best case scenarios, but and you know, are we calling our shot 12 months early? I don't think so, but you know, a star, do you say like a Stars Alliance type moment? Like if you look at the schedule, because they played so many road games this year, you know, Arch, yeah, maybe he struggles a little bit, but he has a lot of learning experiences and then really locks in for the offseason, you know, back strong again next year and playing a lot better, and also has a lot of these big games at home as well too, you know, could definitely obviously lead in their direction. But at least they get a field goal attempt here and a chance to put up points on the board first. So make no mistake, chat, we're not Texas fans if you're just tuning in. It is what it is. Maybe you can assume from the memorabilia around the place that, you know, we're a little invested in the career of Arch Manning anyways. It is what it is. You know, we want to see him succeed, obviously. We're sitting here cheering for him. But the field goal is good, 3-0. And we do love Marcel Reid as well, too. So, again, that's what makes this such a fun, high-level matchup. Just to see both these guys potentially play well, and I guess whoever wins at the end of the day, you know, doesn't matter to us. Just that's what it is. You know, Arch's success, because he's at Texas, will, you know, he's not at Texas Tech. Hey, yo, you know, not start an in-state beef there, but I don't know if we'll be the ones that do it. Pause, but you know, because he's at Texas, his success will be a little bit measured more by the wins and losses than it will be the stats. But if Arch has good stats, it's still going to be, you know, again, beneficial for just the, you know, the entirety of it all. But pause, I don't know. But let's see. Yeah, they went at Ohio State, at Florida. So they did play Oklahoma at home, and they won that game as well, too. You forget that Texas sneaky won the Red River Showdown. I don't know, what was their ranking at the time? Because they had the 2 losses and, you know, directly the week after losing to Florida. And at that point, you know, Florida was down bad. You know, Florida may be a little bit more of a competitive team at this point. Again, I don't even know if they're ranked in the top 25. But you go home versus Oklahoma. Then on the road, Kentucky, Mississippi State. Oh, at Georgia. That's what it was. I guess they didn't play Alabama this year. We're thinking at Georgia. And then, yeah, they do have Texas A&M at home as well, too. But, yeah, you know, Ohio State and Georgia anyway, definitely, you know, not the easiest. And like we're saying, yeah, I guess San Jose State, UTEP, and Sam Houston were their home games this year outside of Oklahoma. Like, just their games in general on home. So I guess number 9, Vanderbilt, they also did have at home. I guess it just depends on how you want to look at it. Would you rather play, well, I guess if you're going to draft 2 games, still, Ohio State and Georgia is a more difficult 2 games probably than Oklahoma and Vanderbilt. With all due respect to Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, you know, Oklahoma's, again, good team. Shout out Vandy, Diego Pavia, but I don't even think they're number 9 right now as well, too. Okay, I was going to say, did they drop out of the top 15? But no, they're 14 right now, 9-2. So they've got Tennessee tomorrow at number 19. Another kind of little, you know, I don't know if Tennessee at 19 has playoff chances, but maybe, you know, a bunch of these teams filter themselves out this week, and it narrows down a little bit. But, yeah, you know, just again, the sort of Texas home environment as well, too, is fun because the school, again, having success is important, obviously, to the are they back narratives, but for the school to have a good win actually in the environment as well, to not just, you know, Texas having a good win at Texas, but this type of win, I think, would be, you know, up there with their best wins and maybe the Sark era. And again, I don't know if the season has totally gone the way that you would have expected, but because of the 12-team playoff, there is still that weird hope that you could have an overall somewhat successful season, you know, the same way you would have even if you were really good. And they, again, because of the talent they have on the field, are still going to be a competitive matchup, even if they're a little bit of a lower-ranked team as well, too. And, you know, maybe there's a, you know, you get past kind of a one, well, you're going to get down to, like, the Final Four in the championship. You know, those are going to be all tough games. But you might be able to get through, like, round 1, 2 a little bit quicker than That maybe, who knows. But regardless, again, you end up in the playoffs, and maybe matchup wise, if you get bounced by Ohio State again or something, you just might be able to make peace with that regardless. But he went Sark 5-7, 8-5, 12-2, and they finished third in the AP in 2023. Hey, yo, I don't know, would they, and I guess there would have been the playoffs at this point as well too. I'm trying to remember if they were like, would they have actually have won the national title at this point? They got the simple rating system at second in the nation that year, so maybe so. Who knows? But we'll see and I guess no, because, well, I don't know. Texas-Michigan would have been a pretty fun game. I mean, Michigan's ability to definitely, run the ball, the offensive line versus the interiors, of Michigan versus Washington. Not necessarily an even matchup, and definitely allowed us to dominate that game. So who knows if Texas stylistically, and with Ewers as well too, you go back and look again, Ewers was definitely more consistent last year than Manning has been this year, but they of course ended up losing that game as well too. In Oklahoma, they did lose to Oklahoma, won versus Alabama, but again, Bama, I guess that was at Bama as well. And Bama ended up at 5th in the nation. So, yeah, I guess the same. But, still obviously plenty fine over there, even in those last couple of years. But, yeah, that would have been at Bama as well, too. And then you go to the playoffs. You're not really playing at Texas at that point. Oh, wait a second. We don't go back to 2022. That was 8-5. I guess they could have had a good win that year. But, again, it would have been more of an upset win instead of like a plant your flag type of win. Hey, yo, because I guess maybe they have done that against Oklahoma, but I think it's a little more territorial than it is, sending a message to the, the college football nation of like, here is Texas. So they did, I guess you got the playoff run in there at Texas A&M last year, won 17-7, lost versus Georgia at home 15-30. And then, yeah, they won it. Who knows? It is what it is. But, yeah, the big game at home against Georgia, they would have lost last year. And then, the schedule for this year, like we said. So, could be a big moment for Sark actually on campus winning a game. A little like we're saying, like kind of like the Lakers for the title. They got their title, and, maybe Sark, this would still actually be the best win as well, too. A win versus a top, I guess, like we're saying, that Bama team. So if Texas A&M could finish 5th in the nation, for sure, again, that wouldn't be unreasonable. So that is, obviously a great win by Sark there. And definitely, thinking about it as well, too, again, a moment for Texas is back. They've had a more than winning record since then, and, several opportunities and close calls against some good teams. But I guess maybe the Georgia game, not necessarily so, but for this game, it definitely is, like we're saying, a chance for him to redeem himself there. But for NBA, we should mention going into halftime right now, the Magic versus the Pistons. We got the Magic with the 1-point lead. We had to throw the Detroit team on in the background because they are probably the hottest team in the league right now. I guess OKC as well. OKC probably not technically off a loss. Detroit is on a 1-game losing streak, but before their 1-game losing streak, they were on a 12-game winning streak. So we just got to, verify, hey, yo, what's going on in Detroit? They are, again, legit top of the Eastern Conference right now. The Cavs, of course, were this team last year in a sense with having an insane regular season record. And I think the Cavs were a little bit more, we maybe had a little bit more title expectations per se on Cleveland. Because I don't know if, again, Detroit right now has title expectations. But who knows? Is Detroit sort of the Patriots of the NBA this year? Or are the Patriots sort of the Pistons of the NFL, where it's like, hey, are the Patriots going to win the Super Bowl? I don't know. But I think the Vrabel piece is interesting because, again, Vrabel is a good coach. And if you really think about the teams that Vrabel's had, I guess Drake May is a really talented quarterback. So it's like, okay, what level of quarterback do you have to get to when you're to be where you're coaching a quarterback, again, of that ilk? Is that a right way to say it? But But, again, for that compared to Tannehill and just the balance that the Patriots have as well, too, it does make it a really competitive team. So it's no surprise that, Vrabel's teams, at least in the regular season, again, are having a really good year this year and kind of near the top of the league. But are they actually going to be the best team in the AFC? Again, we'll just have to see it in the playoffs for sure. But definitely, like we're saying, that pedigree of the past runs in Tennessee does not make this as necessarily, jarring as sort of, like, not jarring, but, and, Bickerstaff as well, too, did have that success in Cleveland of being really good. But the Pistons, I guess maybe they're a little more drafted than the Pats. But it really is just, I don't want to say it really is just Drake May. You do have, good veteran weapons making some good plays. Diggs has obviously been really great there and stuff. And up until the injury, shout out Campbell has been, just some of the offensive line pieces have definitely helped out a little bit since then. But the Detroit team, like we're saying, is definitely going to have to get some more watch times logged because they are going to be a team that is a factor in the playoffs at this point. Who knows how far they could slide just based on anything, but they are starting to climb a little bit ahead. We're going to hit a quarter mark of the season sooner rather than later. So they are going to start to establish themselves here as one of the better regular season teams. And who knows what that has to start. We've looked at Cade's percentages and stuff. Again, some of the numbers need to take a little bit of a bump upwards. I remember not saying Cade doesn't need to take a bump. Hey, yo, that's not the headline. His stats need to take a bump. Hey, yo, some of the percentages and the efficiency needs to just go up a little bit more before I think he really starts to break into the awards conversation. But again, that all starts to become stuff that, really gets turned up in the conversation as the season goes on. And you get to the point where it's like, wait a second, is Drake May going to win the MVP of the league? Like, what's going to happen here? So, again, it's a little bit more the team, the defense, again, the regular season in the NBA, the night-to-night of it. Again, like we've seen, teams in the past with Memphis, of course, be good regular season teams without their stars. So you don't necessarily have to have that to be a good regular season team, but still they are, maybe even a team with the potential to take another step upward if this is really legit. But we'll find out. Orlando has been pretty good in the NBA Cup games, apparently. So this is a battle for the East Group B, number 1 seed. I don't know if that means an automatic spot in the NBA Cup playoffs. I really don't, have an understanding of what the seeding rules are there. We just watch the games, and then when they tell us what the playoff matchups are for the NBA Cup, we're like, oh, that'll be a fun one to watch. Hey, we can't wait. Who might win the NBA Cup title out of these teams? Shout out. So maybe we could, check up on some of the standing matchup stuff and see if we are, as out of the loop with the knowledge stuff as we think we are. But the fact that, again, they have been playing well in the play-in games tells you that they've been playing a little bit better recently. And I know that the struggles were definitely there. It was starting to look a little bleak maybe for the coach as well too. But, you get Paolo back, maybe you start, that's definitely going to help. You start getting some of the pieces a little bit healthier, and, again, it could start explaining itself for why you could start to see a couple more wins. But there is a pretty much a good NBA window tonight as well, too. We should keep up with a couple more games. We've got, again, speaking of the Amazon Prime, might just rename this day to Amazon Prime Day, honestly. At this point, they've got Bucks versus the New York Knicks on their airwaves right now. So we could definitely go scan in, keep up the box scores. But make no mistake, like we said, Marcel, Reid, Arch Manning, the headliner matchup of the evening will definitely be taking a lot of our full attention from here on out. It is what it is. But yeah, for the NFL, I don't know if we have to catch up on some of these games real quickly. We might have to. Indiana also playing 2-9 Purdue, so we might not have to follow this one too much. But just to check on Mendoza's stats here real quick. Mendoza being outplayed by Brown. Brown's got an interception, 7 for 14 for 76. Mendoza, 4 for 9 for 36. Hey, yo, so he might not have needed to do a lot early on. You know, the interception could have set him up in pretty good field goal range or field goal position. You know, we don't know. We can double check that. But yeah, for now, maybe stats wise, a little bit of a slower start for Mendoza. So I don't know if Heisman potential here again for Arch Manning, but maybe for Reid if he continues to, you know, stay out there as well too. But Texas A&M did have another player get his leg twisted up on a tackle. So hopefully it's not just that type of night for Texas A&M. I don't know what kind of field are they playing on. Do we have to check that out maybe? You know, Texas, I don't know what's going on there. But 4th and 6, 31-yard attempt. We'll see if they're in his head. Do they block it? Does he just straight up miss the attempt? Oh! It didn't quite, well, it did go in, but it looked like it might start to break to the right. And then it stayed on a line and was able to get in on, you know, a pretty good angle on that right side there. But for a second, it was like, wait a second, what line is that on? What way is that going to break? And no, he has got it dialed in. So got his first kick to go for the night. His second attempt, his first one to go. 3 for 3 as there is 6 left in the half. Texas now can actually make a drive as well too. I mean, they have, of course, in the past. You know, again, they were moving the ball a little bit better there last time, but for them to actually, you know, start to string together some first downs. Not to say that a field goal you wouldn't take it, but you definitely need to maybe get a touchdown here at some point. You know, they are a little Kansas City Chiefs-ish in that way, if we can say it, where, you know, the fact that they, like we're saying, maybe don't quite get into the end zone as many times as you would think for a high-powered offense, or, you know, high-powered names as well too, and even an offense that is able to go up and down the field a little bit. You know, they're just not quite always able to turn it into as many points as you would think. So 6.5 left to go in the half. And, of course, average starting field position on the return here. Nothing too crazy. 35-yard line. So we'll see if Arch Manning can run some clock, or if he can, you know, I guess you'll take a big play. But if he is able to have a little bit of a balance here in how he manages the end of this half. But, hey, we said we had to check Heisman odds here to see if Marcel Reid is number 1. Or maybe it's one of the, you know, speaking of, again, the team up north, maybe it's one of their players that could be number 1 still. Oh, of course, it is Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, Julian Sam, Pavia. Then Reid at 25-1. Hey, so right now this game is 3-3. You know, again, this is a bigger stakes game, obviously, for Texas. If they win this game, they can still if they lose this game, they're definitely out of the playoffs. But if they win this game, there is still a glimmer of hope that they can definitely make the field of the top 12. But the fact that you can get Marcel Reid live right now with the game tied is a pretty good bet, in my opinion, to maybe just see him at 25-1. Because Pavia, I guess, do we double check Pavia as well? Saying Love and Mendoza. I mean, Mendoza might get the win if he doesn't have great stats today. And, you know, Marcel Reid's able to have pretty fantastic stats by the end of the day. Even if they don't win, you know, is that at 11-1 in a crazy stats day even still acceptable in the Heisman conversation like this? And then Love has been underrated all year as well, too. He definitely is a name that should be brought up. Oh, Manning on the run. Finds the tight end kind of sitting down in the zone coverage over there. Good throw across his body. Hey, yo. I don't know if the flag is... Oh! They definitely signaled holding, but we'll see if it's on the defense here. It may be on A&M. Oh, it's on the offense. The football will be going back, chat. Hey, yo, was that second or third? Will they replay second down? One of the better throws that Arch Manning has made as well, too. Pressure, pressure forces him outside the pocket. He rolls out to his right. Just feeds it right between. You got like a linebacker, kind of couple safeties there. You know, feeds it right through a couple defenders. Again, he's rolling out to his right, but he's throwing it back to the left side of the body somehow. It is a pretty, again, crazy kind of off-balance running type of throw. But shout out. Gotta respect it. Hustling here on a 3rd and 10. Manning again pressured, and that time not able to do much. So, they're definitely draped all over him that time. He maybe a little harder to get turned around and actually fire a pass. But you got to be able to maybe handle that on your own as well, too. But the Texas A&M defense is able to get off the field. Shout out. So still 3-3, 5.5 to go. And I think Texas did get the first half kickoff, if I'm remembering the little drive recaps before we logged on to actually watch the game ourselves. So Texas A&M definitely wants to capitalize on this with them not seeing it first in the next period. And A&M on the return breaks a couple of tackles outside. A&M past the punter, past midfield. Oh, the breakaway jersey, chat. He's almost able to stay up on his feet, keep his balance, and almost able to keep going there. I thought maybe he was going to bounce back around, and we'll see how far he was able to take it there, but the punter is able to get him regardless. He crosses midfield. Regardless, great return. You get a little bit of field goal range here as well, which again kind of ensures some points on the board. The only thing that was technically, I guess maybe not even technically, but could be a little unfortunate later would just be the play time that you leave if you hit this next play as well too. But regardless, good good execution here as well. And all 3 timeouts as well too as we head to the end of the second quarter. So both teams plenty of opportunity for good clock management as well. But yeah, only a handful of yards away. You already get the field goal target line up with 5 minutes left. I don't know if that's too early for the field goal target line either. Is this technically even clutch minutes for halftime football? I don't know what the stats say. Reid pressured, checks down to the running back. Ooh, good tackle in space. No, he's still going. Oh, they call him down. There he goes. Okay. I was going to say, sneaky move by the running back. It was definitely a classic sort of fly-by ankle tackle. Running back puts a hand in the dirt. Maybe he keeps his balance, but they get him knee down. And in college, that's about all it takes. We're just talking about football here. But the play dead at 2nd and 9. So still running a little clock at this point is probably good. 7 for 12 for Reid, 60+ yards. So kind of having the stats adjust a little bit here. Not the strongest start for him. Oh, slipping and sliding the running back. Hey, like literally falling like he was on a slip and slide. I've never seen a running back wave his arms and balancing before, trying to falling backwards on a was that like a cut in a defensive or offensive lineman stepped on his foot or something? I don't know. But 138 yards to 85 for Texas A&M Texas. So you see right now, basically every time they've been moving up and down the field. I don't remember if we have to go back and look and see what happened on an earlier possession that they didn't score. I guess they did punt maybe their first possession, or no, it would have been their second possession of the game. So maybe they got the ball to start here. We might have to go back and double check the 2 or 3 drives before we logged on here, just to double check the game flow. Pause, because again, they have been consistent in picking up yardage here, but I guess the Texas defense just making stops at the right time because it is 4th down, 4th and 5. So, you can get across midfield, get yourself in a little bit of field goal range, but if you're not going to convert to touchdowns, it's going to look a little bit lower. And, if you're not especially able to hold the other team as well. But, again, Texas now with a chance to stop and respond with 3:04 left. Plenty of time. No need to take a timeout quite yet. Oh, the slant, though, is easy money for Marcel Reid. Again, you love to see it from a just drop back, fire the slant. I mean, come on. Shanahan, he's got to love that stuff. It is what it is. I don't know how the footwork is here. Do we need McShay to break this down, chat? It seems pretty good to me. pause. I don't know if we're, again, technical experts, but just the vague eye test. What's the vaguest eye test you can give it? I think that it may have just been okay on that one. But first and 10 now. They keep chugging along. Pistons versus Magic. Back from half. We should mention as well, too. The Pistons have retaken the lead after the Magic went into halftime lead. We were talking about, like we said, the soap definitely. The Ayo. The what? The regardless, the game is 2 points. So we got the Magic up 2 on the Pistons as the second half gets started up. So again, off of the 1-game losing streak, but we'll see if the overall record for the month of November ends up being okay for Detroit here. This could be one of those weird, like, best months in franchise history as well too. Cade for 3 there, reclaims the lead. Again, I don't know if statistically they've been breaking any records, but just from a winning perspective standpoint, the regular season teams like Isaiah and them, they definitely had good regular season teams. I don't know if they ever got to like a 60 win mark. So, is this versions of a Pistons team, again, like a 60 win team? I don't know if they're that good, even if that number is just, it's been accomplished a couple times. So we can't say that it's impossible, but they would potentially be on pace for, again, a good franchise best season. 64 in 05-06. They did have one in there, and then 59 wins in 88-89. Did they win the title? So that was that second title. Ooh, 63. They were, yeah, of course. They were a good regular season team. But again, it was they really popped out again those 2 years. Pause. It is what it is, because 50 wins after that's obviously good. 54, 52, 46, but it's not, it's not San Antonio or whatever, or even from a regular season standpoint, Tatum and Brown have won more consistently a little bit more regular season games over the past couple of years. I guess we could go back and double check. This could be a pretty comparable regular season winning stretch here to Tatum and Brown as well too. But yeah, for the most part, again, they don't really have just like a ton of 52 to 56 win type seasons in here. Overall, I guess what do we got, like 10 52 win seasons in general, and then 2 60 win seasons, like we said, 89 in 2005. So I don't know, maybe on the timeline, I don't know, is this every 20 years or so you have a 60 win season? Maybe they're due. But again, recent success of this team, 17, 14, and then I guess I was going to say 15 wins this year, but fortunately it's just starting, not 15 at the end. 20, 20, 23, 17, and 14 is a pretty brutal half decade. Shout out to anybody involved. It is what it is. You're out there trying. We respect it, but unfortunately it didn't just quite, at least for that stretch of time. Again, it didn't quite manifest into a ton of wins. It is what it is. So maybe they go for, what's a number? Have they had a number that they haven't accomplished? They have no wins between 55. Yeah, 55 and 59. 2 59 win seasons. And that is it in the entire franchise. So if they go in that range again, again, would definitely be one of the better regular season teams that they've had, and would be a team that maybe could win the finals. But if they win 55 or more games, again, the 4 times it has happened, they've been to the Eastern Conference Finals every year, lost twice there, and then both times they've been in the finals, of those 4 60-plus win times, they were actually able to win it as well too. So maybe this is a sneaky, Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals type of situation. I don't know how we can bet that, because I think you can only bet them right now to win the conference, just in terms of what the options are. I think they might only have conference odds available here as well. Oh wait, that's college football. Let's see if we can find some college basketball. NBA, chat. What are we looking for? NBA as well. Maybe we're just still trying to, again, catch up on the Michigan season. Things are looking good. They just won their tournament, so they are definitely at the top of the mind right now. But yeah, I mean, again, you can literally just bet the finals as well to conference. Can we get like a conference championship appearance? East Conference winner, conference finals MVP. But yeah, no appearance. So maybe there is a chance that they have decent division odds at this point. Plus 125 on the division is not bad. And again, they are just have a way better regular season record at this point as well. It is what it is. But otherwise, I guess win total, maybe regular season win total. 55 plus wins for the Pistons. That's got to be like 3-1. What are we doing here? 4-1? Whoa! I guess we can't even get him as an option, chat. 55, can we get him at 50? 50 plus wins? No? Maybe not. Is there no see all button? There isn't, chat. 45 plus wins. What's allowed for Detroit in this scenario? Maybe they're just not one of the teams that is an option as well, too. Let's see. A couple of similarities there. And then for the 45, no, non-existent, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. R.I.P. But for the, for the most part, still pretty successful overall if they are able to accumulate this many wins together. But we are, I guess we're at the 2-minute warning for half, maybe, for college, 3-3. I think Texas getting ready to kick back off, or Texas A&M getting ready to kick back off to Texas here up after the TV break and after our break as well, too, chat. We will be right back. And then we've got halftime, like we said, NBA to catch up on. Maybe we catch up on some NFL during the halftime. It'll be fun. It'll be exciting. We are, of course, as always, having fun, hanging out on a Black Friday night. Hey, just the day after Thanksgiving with you guys. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We will be right back right after this. Okay, we're back, and the play is under review, out of review. The touchdown is confirmed. Texas A&M gets the first. They're the first, we should say, to cross the end zone for the evening. Oh, the extra point. A little low, a little bit of a line drive, but still 10-3. I guess not necessarily surprising, seeing as how the ESPN has already updated the score for us at 10-3. That extra point already logged. But shout out to Concepcion on the end around. What were you gonna say, Jason? KJ? Shout out. What's this guy's name? KC Concepcion. We might have to do a little watch list and see here. Hey, yo, for the draft and see what we have. I don't even know if he is a running back or receiver. They do have him listed at receiver. The end around and just the shiftiness in general is very running back like. So I don't know. Does that immediately put him on the top again of our watch list? Because those are, I don't know if that's the, and like we were talking about the Kansas City, who were the model teams to sort of just, I guess, to model the drafting and the moves after. San Francisco would be one of the teams that maybe it's not even a model. It's just, there's just a similarity in the fact a lot of the guys that we like end up going to San Francisco. And even if it's not necessarily initially in the draft, at some point they seem to be playing for San Francisco in their careers. So there just, again, is an alignment for some reason in the guys that John Lynch drafts and eyes and talent. And, again, I'm sure everybody's got, and this is why San Francisco has been a mistress team in the past, and this is why, teams like that become mistress teams. Because you're like, wait a second, why does this team, even if I don't root for this team, like, they just get a lot of players that are my type? I don't know what's going on here. But, KC Concepcion, maybe he is an R-type of player. The heavy yards after the, what are we saying? The heavy yards after the catch, receiver, good, creator with the actual football as well too. So we could lock in and see some of the route running actual receiver skills. But again, as a weapon, obviously, he's really shown himself useful here in this game, creative. And just in general, you see, I guess touchdown-wise, again, we could actually look function of the offense in the red zone if he's getting a few more looks that maybe a running back would get. But you just see here, we have it sorted on Tankathon by receiver and running back. So out of all the skill guys, basically, he is, and again, just this Tankathon list. So this is not necessarily every draft eligible guy as well, or maybe some of these guys even return. Who knows? But and this is, again, just not even everybody that would be on a draft board hypothetically for Tankathon, just the top, 300 or so. But they have Elijah Sarrett from Indiana with 10 touchdowns, Makai Lemon with 10 touchdowns as well, and then Concepcion with 9 on the season. So I mean, again, yardage total, reception totals, just a quick scan through. He is, basically right there, top line production with all of these equivalent peers as well too. So, we can continue to watch and see. And, he's not too far off, again, in terms of, there's only one running back here in the top 35 plus skill guys. They have Brazil at 36. So, we could say top 40, I guess, for the ranking. They only have one running back in the top 40. But, only a handful of receivers on the list over him at this point. And you immediately just see on the list as well too. I mean, it's the receivers in 2025. I don't know, they're just getting taller. It is what it is. But you got Jordan Tyson 6'2", Tate 6'3", Lemon is 5'11" as well. Denzel Boston 6'4", Chris Bell 6'2", and then Concepcion is also 5'11". So maybe this is why we like Lemon and Concepcion so much. Are they actually good receivers? No, I think Tyson and Tate who's the other guy for not Jeremiah Love, Jeremiah Smith. He's not even on the board this year as well too. Could just be one of the better receivers. Could be the best receiver in college football. But the actual, you don't call him like slot receiver, but there is just maybe a little bit sometimes more. Pause. I was gonna say of something else because it could be athleticism as well too. But Tyreek Hill, because I was thinking Tyreek Hill as well. Shorter guy, but just obviously, well, are we calling him out? Maybe we should say shorter receiver, not shorter guy. I think he's a tall guy, but shorter receiver. So the speed, and the athleticism there is definitely the standout thing, but also is a good route runner and, just a good receiver as well too. If he was, if he was a little bit slower but maybe taller. I don't know what the equivalent would be if you made him 6'1", but he ran, a 4.39 instead of a 4.29 or whatever it is. Maybe, I guess he'd still be really fast at 6'1", still be a great receiver. But I think with his ability to navigate some of the breaks and stuff, again, he would be just fine. And, it is what it is. It's like, oh man, what if Durant was 6'9"? It's like, well, he'd still probably be hitting post fades on everybody because he's just making those shots in everybody's face. It is what it is. But again, Concepcion, I don't know, he fits the profile for for a receiver type. So definitely impressive in this game so far. Shout out Justice Hayes, number 2 back on the board. 59, too low. Running back, another running back steal, chat. Keep an eye on him for your fantasy leagues if he's in one of those, like, oh, he's the second running back off the board, but because he's the number 60th pick in the draft, he's not necessarily valued in the same way. But you have to kind of look at especially for fantasy, of course, you have to look at the running back class a little bit like that, where it's like, okay, we understand the value of the running backs in the actual NFL draft itself, but what's the general sort of talent scope of the running back room itself? And then, within the league, it's like, those are the running backs. So, Justice Hayes may actually have opportunity there as well, too. I don't know. We're doing Dynasty Corner here, looking at Tankathon. But shout out. It's good to see that, of course, the eye test sometimes is accurate. You're like, okay, wait a second. This guy's jumping off the page. Do we just go double check what the draft status is when we're watching the games and, double checking it? It does seem to bear out. So maybe watch a little bit more Louisville. And we did, of course, we went to see Michigan, shout out. Of course, we did see them play Washington. So the skill guys for Washington were definitely very impressive in that game. Make no mistake. But Concepcion has definitely been pretty good tonight. So we got to give him his credit. And just from a yardage standpoint, I guess Lemon does have 78 catches. But that's just impressive, usage as well, too, to get further. I guess Bell is also 72 for 917 and 6 touchdowns. But you see everybody else is kind of in the 50s, honestly. So, Concepcion 52 is pretty good. You got Brazil at 56, 48, 48, 48, 45, 55. So, yeah, definitely those two guys, getting a majority of the offense for those teams. And the USC quarterback was definitely getting some hype earlier in the year as well, too. Not saying that hype went away. Again, I think he's later draft classes, so maybe the die down in the hype is, a little bit of a good thing. A chance to focus on his game, not necessarily under the microscope. He can just kind of chill and, not necessarily, take time. We're not saying chill, but, again, it can be a little less scrutiny while he is, once he walks the room, then he can just make whatever jokes he wants. He can experiment. He can work on his game at that point. But maybe, see, that's what Arch Manning did, chat. Hey, yo. Oh! The punter for Texas almost with an all-time punt. There's 2 seconds left in the half either way, so you assume Texas A&M is going to take the knee 10-3. And that is one of those moments, again, for Arch where, shout out, a pretty good first half. Again, there's been some moments of him scrambling and keeping drives alive on 3rd down. And there was that possession earlier, like we mentioned, probably should have been alive because of a pass interference call. I mean, to give the defender credit, he did look back in the course of the route. It's just he also didn't look back at a lot of it and was, hand fighting. And then the safety help came over. And I don't know if he really ever the football properly as well, too. But, regardless, they let the physicality play out there. So there is some things to look at, but still taking some pressures there. And, you could say Texas offensive line, he didn't necessarily take like a crazy sack. I think did they give him with the intentional grounding or something? We were kind of looking at the Tankathon there a little bit when we realized, okay, this drive's dead. It is what it is. But still, to get a field goal there to keep the drives alive somehow. I don't know if that's year, 2 of him as a starter for a full season. Maybe he can take a little bit more responsibility in the offense and checking some stuff. But, there's just got to be a little bit more out of that last drive if you're going to be in these types of conversations. And again, he's got, all of next season to potentially remake a lot, and not remake, but to continue to build upon some of the good performances that he's had here at the end of the season. But in a stage like this, and still a 1-possession game, you're right there, Texas A&M has definitely, like we said, moved the ball in the first half, but they have still, managed again to keep the scoring manageable. So you're still in striking range. But yeah, 8 for 21 in the first half. Reid 10 for 15, 94 yards, 51 yards for Manning. 8 for 21, chat, is tough. Yards per completion at 6.4, so finding some of the easier ones. And that underthrow earlier on the sideline. It's just 2026 is going to be the year, chat. 2026 is going to be the year. We look forward to it. But shout out Orlando, still up by 5 as the third quarter winds down there. Time passing quickly in this Magic versus Detroit game. But maybe now during the half, it's time to catch up on the NFL game that we were looking at earlier, the NFL game that happened this afternoon. I don't know if we're allowed to watch the highlights on the live stream. I don't know what the rules are. We could risk it. We could be bold, pioneering risk takers here and, battle the YouTube rules and see if we can get the highlights without getting taken down. But I think we might just have to watch them and see what happens. And we might have to watch highlights for the Chiefs-Cowboys game, honestly, as well, too, because that game was on during when we were eating family dinner for Thanksgiving. And I guess there wasn't a TV, right by the family table situation. So, we were like, okay, I guess we'll just, do we watch enough football? It's like, can we go back and rewatch this game? Is technology good enough in 2025 that there's ways, if we miss some of the plays, we can go back and catch up? So, we were like, okay, I think we could sit down and have a meal with the family. But, yeah, regardless, we were like, oh, wait a second. Didn't realize the Chiefs season was going to be over. And we were listening to that game when we were driving over to the family meal as well, too. So just listening to that first quarter of the game was a Dak Prescott roller coaster. It honestly is good that, not even a Cowboys fan, probably just good, just from a football fan watching a good performance standpoint, just that we were listening to it as well, too. I don't know if that made it a little bit more chaotic or less chaotic, but just he had that early pick, and then there was another one as well, too, where the announcer was like, oh, the next possession, almost throwing it right to the defender, and it's like, oh, man, is Dak just going to have, another one of these Thanksgiving games, or I don't know if it's another one of these Thanksgiving games, but, just another game where we can look at it and be like, oh, what's going on here? But no, they did end up getting the win, so we'll see how that one ended as well, too. But shout out to the Bears on the road in Philly. We've been trying to build up Jalen Hurts here as one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And I'm not saying that this is a game where, again, his standing in the league is going to really drop off. But, you would like to collect some of these wins. I guess the Bears now moving to 9-3. I don't know if they proved themselves a legit team. Kyle Monagai. I don't know if we're saying the last name properly there, but we might have to do a stat check on him as well, too. Swift is definitely a guy that can be, behind the right offensive line. A very, very effective running back, but still a little, and yeah, in some ways as well, too, he can be a 3-down back, make no mistake, but maybe a little bit more injury related, but regardless, is still a guy that you'd want maybe a running back room. And again, it is also 2025 as well, too. So yeah, he's at 99 carries on the year. Yeah, he's definitely seen double-digit carries a lot more over the last handful of weeks. So 12-12 over the last 2 games is not necessarily crazy. A little bit lower on the yardage, but definitely popped off again today. So 22 for 130, Swift 18 for 125, just, I guess, running all over the Eagles defense. Hey, yo, A.J. Brown, 10 for 132 and 2 touchdowns. So I don't know, is he just going to be upset that it's at 2 a.m. on a Friday? He's like, well, I want to play good on a Sunday when everybody's watching. It's like, well, okay. At some point, A.J. Brown, it's a good stat line. Seems like a lot of receptions, 12 targets. I don't know how many you can get in a game, but feels like that is a pretty good amount. And still able to get A.J. or Devontae Smith 8 as well, too. Only 5 for 148 in the actual stats, but still seems like there was some decent looks there. So, we're just watching the highlights scroll by here. We could actually pay attention and see what happened in the game. And still not necessarily a overwhelming Williams box score. Actually had an interception in this game, for him, fortunately. as much as you maybe look at the stats and don't get so overwhelmed by them, the interception totals have been lower than his career than maybe you would assume as well too. I don't, what does that mean for him as just, an overall player? But regardless, they still haven't, actually logged a ton of interceptions. And I guess we could go double check the fumbles as well too. Maybe he's been kind of a fumble guy. I don't know. Again, it just, they have been, even in a game like this, they're going to win a game scoring in that 20, maybe even like 18 to 24 type range. We could go see what their highest offensive performance was. I guess they did just have, that game against Cincinnati, though, 47-42. Like, Cincinnati, shout out. Flacco and now Burrow is back. Are they a feisty team? For sure. But I don't know. That defense is definitely one of the ones. And 31 against Dallas. So, they're definitely able to put up points against bad defenses. You got to give them, in some ways that is good, to go out there and perform against those ones that you should. But yeah, the Detroit game early in the year, definitely a tough one. But since, I guess, 0-2, shout out 9-1 in the last 10 is pretty crazy. Detroit, the Pistons of the NFL. I don't know if we've already said, which one is which. But maybe they're in contention. I don't know if this is a award we have to give out by the end of the show. Who is the Pistons of the NFL, or who are the the Pistons or who of the NBA? I'm not sure what the question is there. But I guess the drama at halftime right now is what Lane Kiffin is going to announce tomorrow. Shout out. I guess it is the end of the college football season. I'm trying to figure out why is Lane Kiffin so eager to get this announcement in tomorrow? Maybe just in general. I guess, the college football landscape is a competitive market. LSU is going to win. I guess we're just assuming that's the conversation right now. Is he going to take the LSU job? And in some ways that makes sense, I guess. But it is difficult to say now in 2025 as well, too, because, anybody can be a boost, just as long as you graduate. I guess you don't even have to graduate as well, too. I don't know. But just as long as, you have the people willing to pay and invest, you can make it happen. So not to say that there wasn't some version of that already in place, but now, of course, the legality for a team to be able to pay their way into rebuilding a roster is at least feasible in the way that you can impact recruiting as well, too, if you do have, again, a coach and a culture and all that different stuff in place. And like Saban proved, Alabama is definitely a team that had great football history, without Nick Saban. Shout out, Bear Bryant and, maybe other legendary names that just don't, are not easier, not names that we can recall necessarily. But regardless, again, still legendary, even if Saban took it to another level in terms of them being the absolute peak of college football. But again, for Tuscaloosa, it's not necessarily just like, oh yeah, Tuscaloosa is going to have the number one football program in the nation. So it's not necessarily inconceivable to say that you couldn't build that at Ole Miss, but LSU is a little bit more pedigree, at least in the 2000s, and I'm sure that, the infrastructure is in place there for them to, really succeed. Of course, we've seen the the individual student athlete success at LSU is probably honestly the best at any school, if you're really thinking about it, just across the sports, because just the amount of personalities and money, that has been generated for the NIL people that they've had there. You can just go through the names. Again, some really star players, and shout out. But in the ladies sports as well too, they've really pioneered several fronts there with the star players, the star athletes that we should say that they've produced from that school. But they did recently get rid of their athletic director, so I don't know what that means for that sort of directionally, or if I don't know how they replaced, if that was an internal upgrade, or if they went outside and hired, or if they've even made it a decision there as well too. So I guess, like we're saying, he's expected to make a decision, and it does, I guess as the reporting does seem to ramp up again, the fact that LSU is being thrown out there as a school. I guess the Penn State job is available. So does Lane Kiffin seem like an SEC guy? For sure. I guess I'm assuming the Penn State job is still available. I don't know if they've locked that down or not yet. But, I don't even know. Is there another high-level job that would be available? I guess we'll have to see tomorrow, what happens. And, Sherrone Moore, shout out. He'll be back next year. We got a couple years here with Sherrone Moore as the head coach. We got to give him a shot. He's definitely, definitely worth the chance for sure. He's done a great job, and that win against Ohio State last year was a great win. You got to give him the credit for it. And because of that, again, are we like gonna go in and are we puffing our chest out right now? Pause, because of the fact that we won that game last year, and like, oh yeah, we're gonna go in and get another win this year. That's definitely not the mentality. But are we underestimating Sharon Moore's ability to have that team game planned well and to kind of muck that game up a little bit the way they have in the past and maybe make it close? That could be for sure. And their run game could, over the course of that game, again, keep it a low scoring, or even breaking off big plays. They could go point for point for them if that happens. But I guess they can keep it close scoring wise and maybe control a little bit of the pace of the game, whatever that may be. If Bryce Underwood's having a great game as well too, all bets are off on what could happen. But it's not necessarily surprising just on paper, again, to go back to Lane Kiffin, to hear a guy move from Ole Miss to LSU. But I don't know. Just the NIL era. We'll see if the mobility is still the same upward for all these coaches, and if the jobs are still kind of the same, pedigree jobs. At the end of the day, it's like, okay, what has really changed, I guess, in the college football landscape? And I guess I don't know what is there a little bit of a loyalty aspect that I don't know if it needs to happen again from a coach. I know, like in the NBA, we get into this conversation of players sticking with the teams, of course, the requesting trades, and just the way that the whole business of the league functions now, and sort of the short-term makeup of some of these rosters. But I don't know if, again, Ole Miss does feel like a team where it does feel like a little bit of a final destination type team. Not to say that I guess he could coach their A for the next 25 years, or I guess however long Saban was at Alabama. And I guess at LSU he does have a chance to make waves there, because I was going to say at Ole Miss he does maybe also have a chance to kind of take that program a little bit, because and again, not to say that Saban should have ran from the Alabama job, because the legacy of Bear Bryant, he was definitely able to go in there and make that school his own. And like I'm saying, Lane Kiffin does have a chance to do that at LSU. And maybe I'm just forgetting some Ole Miss legends. Shout out, probably not as familiar with the history of the football program at that school as maybe we are with some other ones, just in terms of knowing some of the names, outside of Eli and Archie Manning. So, again, he can kind of really stamp a legacy there and bring a new kind of fresh face to the top of college, a newer team, a newer name. So are we just like, can we get some variety? I don't know. Lane Kiffin, just like make Ole Miss a good team. I don't know if that's necessarily the name per se that you want at the top of college football, but it is a new program in a sense. So, it is what it is. So maybe all in all, just if we're gonna have a winning team at the top, it's got to be a team that's called the Tigers. I don't know, just maybe a little bit of a better ring to it. But regardless, like we're saying, it still makes sense, I guess, at the end of the day, if you're just like, yeah, a guy's going to take the LSU job, and even if the Ole Miss job's a great job, you're like, the LSU's job is, an A- tier job, and it would only be an A- tier job just depending on how you define, what that A+ tier is and how exclusive that would be. Because, checking all the boxes in terms of, funds, and I would assume like facilities and just just everything you would need to have a successful program. Again, LSU has it, but is it quite on the level, of course, legacy wise, of some of the top tier programs? Like would say if he does get the LSU job, like would Ryan Day leave Ohio State for LSU? You see, the Ohio State one, I feel like you have to end up at, and maybe it is just sometimes. I was gonna say sometimes the SEC and the Big Ten guys can be separate, but then I think didn't Saban coach at Michigan State, and Urban Meyer coached at LSU, or coached at Florida and Ohio State, so they both have coached around in both conferences. And Sydney Sweeney on Family Feud. I don't know. I didn't expect us to be watching Family Feud this winter, but hey, I guess plans change. So okay, I guess we're tuning in for Steve Harvey, right, chat? It is what it is. I think everybody tunes in for Family Feud for Steve Harvey. Even if Sydney Sweeney is on, Steve Harvey's such a legend, he can steal the show. And, obviously a good-looking, charming guy himself. So shout out, can be right up there. If it was a magazine cover or, a game show, Steve Harvey can, be winning in whatever environment. But I guess in this one, it's going to be a game show. And the suit that Steve Harvey had on, of course, that might be Hall of Fame Steve Harvey suit tier as well, too. Shout out. So, Steve Harvey's suit game getting better as time goes on. Who would have thought? The LeBron James of suit games as well, too. Because that could be a risky, I guess, just in general, anybody with fashion as time goes on can get risky in how you adapt that stuff. And, do you get sort of stuck a little bit in fashion, and what era do you get stuck in as well, too? I mean, there's just eras of suits in general. That's like, do you want to get stuck in this year of wearing a suit? Or maybe, not to say the rotation gets a little bland, but maybe, it's just like, okay, the Steve Harvey rotation, do we know the colors? Do we know the vibes and the fits of what the suit's going to be? Like, rest in peace, the legend Craig Sager was always great at mixing up the suits, and they would just be different everything, different silhouettes and different cuts of, like, lapels and ties and pocket hanky combos, and it was more like every little tweak is different, and just again great color combos and stuff like that as well, too. Not to say that you can't always be dressing classy, and it was like a glittery kind of holiday suit situation for Steve Harvey, still kind of classic dark colors as well, too, so there is again a sleeker vibe to it. But yeah, hey, really really keeping the suit game strong in 2025. You love to see it. And just in general, again, some might even say Steve Harvey, in his peak years. I'm trying to think of what year he had there was like a there's like a Steve Harvey magazine that I'm thinking of that I don't even know what it is. It's just, I heard you hear it on a pod of people making their jokes about it, and then you're like, you have to look it up to see what's going on. And just because, it's like, well, I guess we're also, who isn't a big fan of Steve Harvey as well, too? So if you can tell me, Steve Harvey magazine cover, I don't know, is that I don't know if that's one we can get, but you do have to see, just for the the history of pop culture in America, what's going on there as well, too. So he was definitely crushing that back in the day. So I don't know if he would do the sort of same style of magazine shoot that we were thinking. It's like a Levi's sort of shirtless. Can we look that up here real quick? I don't know. Speaking of, we can't watch. I guess we've totally abandoned NFL highlights as well at this point, too. Let's see. Steve Harvey. Do we go Levi's magazine, or do we just go? Well, I guess I don't know. Not Steve Harvey wasn't making controversial magazines, but he was just wearing jeans in this magazine. It is what it is, Again, he's just wearing clothes. Back in the day, there was no special taglines associated with it, or if there were, it was just associated with Steve Harvey as well, too. So let's see what the Bing can cook up. Whoa, chat! We didn't expect the all denim fit. That's pretty crazy as well, too. The orange metallic goes crazy. Woo, chat! You never think about the sort of casual Steve Harvey, because again, you just think, well, I guess the casual Steve Harvey is just sort of just a normal suit for us. A fancy suit for me is just a normal suit for Steve Harvey. But the sweater fits, are these AI generated? Like, what's going on here? The sweater fits, and then the jacket, we got like a blue purple gradient sort of leather. I don't even know what style is that. Harrington? Who knows? We got to look at our jacket terms here. And then kind of a purple gradient on the pant is crazy. Chat, I mean, he's an icon. What were we saying? Robert De Niro in Casino is one of the best dressed just movie characters of all time. I think if we were creating like a look board for a stylist, we'd be like, okay, it's got to be, and I don't know how they make this work, but just, again, if we're focusing on sort of the clothing items themselves, if it's like Robert De Niro in Casino mixed with Steve Harvey, but I think that, but I think there is a, again, just you sort of put the clothes on mannequins, and you could see the fashion similarities there for sure. I mean, you could probably just see the fashion similarities in general. I mean, is Robert De Niro's character from Casino just not wearing this outfit right here? He didn't. I don't know if he did wear a trench coat. Shout out. Of course, that would have been the next sort of gangster move. And I guess this is a trench coat over a coat. I mean, chat, this guy's, what is the finest wine that you can name? This is crazy. This is a crazy fit. Can we buy this fit? I mean, look at this. I don't know. turquoise fits are our thing for 2026. I didn't know that was going to be the case. We were definitely, pocket watching that turquoise fit that he had. What's even his name in Casino as well too? It's just De Niro's in Casino. Sam something. It's not Sam Cooke. Hey yo, what's his name? I guess we could look that up. But shout out the tunic sweater with the leather pants. I mean, this is just a whole fashion board of Steve Harvey. We didn't even realize was out there as well too. I guess we just need to look at Steve Harvey looks a little bit more often. The sweater here is pretty crazy. The trousers, chat. I mean, I don't know if that colored trouser would have been like, are you wearing that? But you put the sweater and then you're like, yeah, white shoes. It's like, okay. I mean, again, just for the fashion, the look is definitely winning the day for sure. I mean, he doesn't miss, chat. He literally doesn't miss. And at the end of the day as well too, again, that has to be Steve Harvey. Like, Steve Harvey just is going to make any outfit look good, but also every outfit he picks looks good as well too. Is he the Kendrick Lamar of fashion, chat? He might be, where it's like, okay, Kendrick can find a cadence on a beat that's probably going to be entertaining, but also every beat that Kendrick picks just seems to be entertaining as well too. So it's why it's a win-win. It's why he's a legend. But I mean, you don't just achieve greatness, chat. I mean, hey yo, the tan suit fit here is pretty crazy. I mean, we could just, I guess, look at Steve Harvey fits for a while, honestly. The open shirt Steve Harvey, chat. What's like summer vacation Steve Harvey? Is that a search? I don't know if we're gonna we're gonna have to turn the blur off on that search or not. It's summer vacation Steve Harvey, but the open shirt is, again, I don't even know if we were meant to see that, honestly, as well. I mean, we definitely were. I mean, but also, were we? It's kind of right in the perfect, I was going to say the perfect gray area, but, hey, yo, we're really in pause territory now. It is what it is. I don't know, is this Steve Harvey? No, that's not Steve Harvey. That's just a random guy there, chat. Shout out, but looking good. The progress is astounding. I mean, again, even the all denim fit as well, too. Speaking of open collar, like, I don't know if we would necessarily recommend an all denim fit, but if you're going to wear an all denim fit, like if we're ranking all denim fits, like, I don't know who else has worn an all denim fit, like Britney Spears and then Steve Harvey. Like, can we look up Britney Spears all denim fits? I think she had one in there. Maybe we should be more more up to date, not up to date, but more in the know of I don't know if it would be up to date or not, shout out, but more in the know of Britney Spears fashion as well too. Maybe 2026 is that New Year's resolution, just more celebrity look boards, just really lock in knowing the sort of celebrity fashions as well too. Could be a fun little twist. But yeah, I mean, he of course is a legend, chat, so shout out. I don't even remember why we were rambling about Steve Harvey to begin with. Ooh, the Steve Harvey in a hat. Whoa, Hat Harvey, chat. Hat Harvey is not a look that pops out quite a bit. Hey yo, I mean, speaking of, I don't know if we can rank bald heads respectfully. I mean, we definitely can rank them respectfully. Steve Harvey is, again, Steve Harvey's just a 10 out of 10, chat. It is what it is. Oh, here's just this is not, I guess, the one that I was necessarily thinking of, but Steve Harvey Jet magazine. What is this? 08? What was the year on that? Did it say 08? January 28th, 2008. You can be 50 and fly, chat. I mean, you could have told me that he was 50 today. Honestly, you could have told me he was 35. Hey, shout out. We're just we're just getting crazy at this point. It is what it is. But I mean, shout out. I mean, he's ageless for almost 20 years now. It is what it is. He is. So Steve Harvey corner. Has Steve Harvey ever won Sexiest Man Alive, chat? I don't know. Can we get on the board for that and vote for Steve Harvey? Again, we may. I don't know. This may just be personal vendetta. We have to. A Luther Vandross magazine, Jet magazine. Maybe Jet magazine covers is going to be the next rabbit hole for 2026 as well too. Tell us why he recorded remakes on the new album. Shout out Vandross. I mean, maybe everything was shout out. I mean, it's why. I guess everything's cyclical as well too. So we could say fashion was better back then, but then in some ways as well too. It's just being remade as well. So I guess kind of like everything else, are we just remaking everything worse? I don't know. Fashion movies, who knows? But yeah, so Steve Harvey's the only thing that is still getting better in 2028. Wesley Snipes, chat. Hey, yo, wait, what year was this? Does it have a year on it? Where's the date on the issue? Busiest actor in Hollywood. So wait, what year would that have been? Who knows? Sometime. What were we just watching with Wesley Snipes on Tubi? Something with Statham and Felipe, Ryan Felipe. They were partners and they were chasing Wesley Snipes for something. And there was one where he's being chased by Donald Sutherland, and I think there's another one where he's being chased by somebody else. So, speaking of busy man in Hollywood, makes a mistake. Whoa, what is this? Jack Steve Harvey? I don't even know if we can't verify. Oh, chat. I don't know if this is the magazine cover, but did we finally find the pictures? That's hilarious. Steve Harvey, shout out. So I like that. I mean, shout out. You're just giving him credit for this guy being Steve Harvey. You love. Oh, I guess is Steve Harvey as a body. Oh, is this like some AI generation? Okay, so I don't know how we feel about that, for that being the AI generated picture. Again, it jacked Steve Harvey, shout out, but I think the idea is also to have the Steve Harvey head on, the Steve Harvey face. I don't know, pause. But shout out. Does Steve Harvey have a clothing line? I mean, of course he does, chat. Of course he does. Shout out. So the legend Steve Harvey, I don't know what he can host for. Can he host the college football playoffs? Maybe get him on like the ranking reveal or the Heisman ceremony as well too. I mean, he's definitely hosted like the NBA honors, I think, or the NFL honors in the past. So make no mistake, definitely getting involved as an MC, where he can. But maybe we got to get back on the highlights or focus back on the Texas A&M game as well too, because Arch is driving. I don't know, maybe we log back out as well too. It seems like they were moving the football a little bit there when we were tuned out and immediately dropped for a loss on the run game. Not Arch's fault. We're just tracking plays at this point. Arch's fault, not Arch's fault. Could have been Arch's fault. Just what are the categories? Hey, yo, chat. No pressure for these guys whatsoever. But Magic up 6. We're keeping an eye. Shout out. 2 in a row. 2 losses in a row for Detroit. Are they fakes, chat? Are they fakes? Title fakes. Eastern Conference fakes. Oh, man, you lose 2 in a row to the Magic and Boston and Orlando. And all of a sudden it all crumbles. Cade, you're going to have to start hitting some threes here. How does Duncan Robinson been lighting it up as of lately? And is that the reason? I mean, he takes a 3 now. Oh, there we go, chat. Duncan Robinson makes it a 3-point game. Arch Manning to the end zone. Fires at the feet of the defender. Hopefully that was, we go back and see the replay there, what was going on that led to the throw being at the feet of the defender, because he was breaking away there a little bit in the back of the end zone. Okay, they're not showing the pocket here, but the route, the receiver on the fade definitely had a little bit of separation, but I guess, McElroy's saying it's a touchdown throw, so you got, obviously, it's a touchdown throw. And I guess, great quarterbacks, obviously, probably able to put that one there. But you could see where the defender's angle and maybe where Arch is at. Maybe he's not going to make that. But also, if he doesn't think he's going to make that, what does that say about Arch's game? The pressure up the middle. Arch is able to get it away on 3rd and 11. But they've got him in 3rd and longs. And they've been able to pressure him and make him have these hurried throws as well, too. The formula is definitely there for the Texas A&M defense thus far. And the intentional grounding flag has been thrown. There was definitely, not really even a receiver on screen as well, too. So I don't know if Sark is saying he was out of the pocket. But, again, 3rd and 11. You're in decent enough field goal range that hopefully it doesn't matter. But you never know. 5 yards is 5 yards. But, yeah, just once again, pressure, right? I don't know. Was that C-gap, chat? That might have been C-gap, honestly. We have to go back and check the replay. But I don't know. Is there a D gap? Pause. Like, I guess there's probably all. I was gonna say there's all the gaps. Hey yo, but I feel like we have like a 1 in 3 chance of guessing between A, B, C, and D. So he gets it on a little bit of a weird angle, but he does sneak it through. So 10-6. Opening the 3rd quarter, you close the score a little bit. You're getting momentum on offense. Hopefully, you're feeling okay about the results of that drive, and ultimately, again, what your defense is going to be able to do here against Marcel Reid is going to be very important as well too. But they are going to have to set themselves up a little bit better on maybe second down as well too. I know that, again, as much as we want them to rely on Arch, you can't go run, pass every play as well too. But maybe you're going to have to start manufacturing some easier throws as well. And I don't know, do we have to start looking at Sark in some of these ways? I get the reliance, the wanting for Arch to be that guy. Make no mistake, again, we're literally sitting here trying to manifest it as badly as possible. Like, I think everybody in the sports world wants him to be good. Almost, again, to kind of, I don't know, the detriment of just too much pressure to some degrees. But at some point, maybe you got to help him out as well, too, offensively. Get some easier throws in the mix and just have him get some completions. Again, there have been down the field looks that have been there. So if he's going to be the quarterback at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you're going to have to hit some of that stuff, and you can't be afraid. But I felt like there were times in the season as well where Sark has been in that play calling mindset of, we have to bring Manning along a little bit. So again, he's been playing better. Maybe you got to just, this is the game to see if he is, not that guy, but, just to see where he's at this point in the development as well too. But you've got to give him a little bit of help here in terms of some easier throws on first and second down, some closer yardage, so you're not necessarily, just setting yourself up for free blitzers in these third down situations. And, again, what is your expectations in these quarterbacks avoiding these sacks? Again, him checking into the pressures and stuff like that. But they have definitely got there quickly and effectively, and again, especially on third down. So while you can pick up you can have good pass blocking on first and second down. Again, the third down pressure has been effective and forced a lot of quick throws, and it's just been again, the multitude of things that have gotten him off the field here so far. But Texas A&M with the chance to make it a little scary if they put a touchdown on the board, and again, with Texas, they haven't been not necessarily tested in that way, but proven in that way as well too, where they can make a comeback. They kind of have to keep it a little bit close like this within that one score range. So a stop here or a field goal at worst is going to be kind of necessary at even early in the second half at this point in the game. And the offense has been able to at least get in that field goal range as well too pretty easily. So I almost want to say that it's going to be difficult to imagine them not being in a 13-6 here, but because it is that early second half drive, there could just be that maybe a little bit of lethargicness as well too, that you can kind of see some of those early 3-and-outs or early drive stalls. So the other problem is, of course, Texas A&M does have something to play for. I mean, that's the college football motivation, even with the 12-team playoff. The individual wins are amongst the most important. Honestly, I don't know if we do a regular season wins ranking, but you could make an argument that college football is up there with the most important regular seasons. I don't even know what would be second. I mean, it would be probably NFL, but baseball is, just a crazy long season pause. The NBA is the same thing. Games can be super important, but not necessarily individual games in terms of really, impacting it. Just week 17 of the NBA versus week 8 of the NFL, or, middle of the season versus the NBA versus middle of the season of college. Again, you can lose a game and maybe not as much as, in 2025 the 12-team playoff, but still you can lose a game and be like, oh man, our season could almost be over based on an individual loss. So as they, of course, continue to expand the opportunity for teams to get into the championship mix, that'll, quote unquote, water down the importance of those regular season games to some degree. But still, at this point, you could still argue probably the most important. It would have to be, again, a weird one, or not a weird sport, but a major American sport. Is cricket regular season games super important? And then you start getting into things like, tennis and UFC, where how do you really define what even you don't really have regular seasons. You have records, but of course it's these individual cards, and I guess UFC is probably the most important individual regular season event because it gets literally you get like 2 fights a year, and you know, you can literally life and death sometimes as well too. So outside of fighting, then college football, but hey, that's the football's right up there with the most physical as well too. So just in terms of the physical toll, the sort of risk there, it is honestly again not it's not a long walk from fighting to football, even though you still have to say that fighting is the number one. The fighting community will make the case for it, make no mistake, and they'll definitely make the case. That they'll win the argument over us. It is what it is. They're the fighting community, but for a close second, physicality wise, football is definitely right there, and especially the line positions as well too are gonna be even closer. So Texas does get off the field here. 4th and 2. Marcel Reid with the little over-the-shoulder lob attempt on 3rd and 2. Was that to Concepcion? And it is a little bit awkward, not quite able to make that work. Uh-oh. Are they saying Colin Simmons down now for Texas? Oh, man, chat. What a game. In a scary bad way. Like, we've had Marcel Reid go down on the field in this game, and now Colin Simmons drops to a knee. I almost, not seeing a replay here. I don't know, did he tweak an ankle or something? But I almost wonder if he was a little woozy or something there. Maybe a cramp or something. Because, again, with the quickness at which he got up, I don't know if he tweaked an ankle or something like that. Or, again, he's just one of the toughest guys out there. So you imagine that he's going to be, just... Is that almost part of the great playerness as well, too? Is just sometimes they can just shake off these injuries. It's just like, oh, well, no, actually my ankle is not sprained. It's fine. Or it's sprained, but, again, it just doesn't matter as well, too. It's just how these guys are able to compete. So they will get the punt. Texas is going to get the ball back here. And now there's life, chat. Hey, yo, this is the first momentum. I mean, you see the fans starting to get back into the game as well, too. The first momentum push in a minute here, because the first drives, honestly, were not that inspiring for Texas as well, too. They were quicker drives. Again, they have been able to sustain a little bit more offense here as the game has gone on, but not necessarily enough to really get the Texas crowd into the mix. So, offense is still a little time for the crowd to not necessarily get fully on their feet here. But if they do get the lead or even a field goal here to make this 9-10, at that point, next drive, if they do get a stop, would give them the lead if they get another field goal. So even that type of optimism out of this drive could just inject life into the stadium. And like we're saying, Texas Stadium hasn't seen a moment like this, if they were able to get a win, under Sark at this level, knocking off a number 3 team at home. So, the correlation for that would be, okay, in the games themselves as well, too, for being real specific about the moments. Just like, again, that overall energy in Texas Stadium. And it's been a little bit of a low-key game here as well, too. So I know, shout out to the Ringer Tailgate. Definitely probably our favorite college football pod at the moment. They've been, really amazing to listen to this season. And they have, I guess, I don't know if we'll just, give the whole pod credit for saying it. Maybe it is what it is here. I guess it is rivalry week in college football. So do we have to make it rivalry week in the podcast world? Are we picking a beef with the Ringer Tailgate pod? Hey, yo, call in. I don't even, are we dropping diss tracks? I guess we'll have to figure out what the logistics of that are. But maybe it'll be more like the Joey Absol beef than the Kendrick Drake beef. It'll, good. I guess hopefully it is more like the like the Ab. I don't know if we want to be in a Kendrick Drake beef with the with the Ringer Tailgate pod. Obviously that gets nasty, and then now we're suing Ringer Tailgate for botting their pod, and then it's like, okay, what's going on? All of a sudden things are getting out of control. But maybe if it's just a little bit more like Absol, Joey, all of a sudden we're in like a room sponsored by Red Bull, and we're like, kind of joking around about how cool the coasts are. Like, that could be a fun experiment as well too. Maybe Ringer Tailgate, I don't know, with Spotify, are they able to use the Hit 'em Up sample as well? We'll see what, again, sort of the rules are there. But there was a moment where they were saying, like, were they questioning the overall energy of Texas Stadium? So again, we're not Texas fans. We're not going to sit here and defend the energy of Texas Stadium. I just also think that, again, if a college game is going to have good moments, if a stadium is going to have a higher energy moment, they're probably going to react well to it. And I get there is a consistent energy throughout the course, not even just of the games, but, just in general. Like, is Bills Mafia always going to be crazy? Is the Eagles fans always going to be? Is the, who are the most passionate college fan bases that you can think of? Again, college, it's like everybody to some degree has also, again, their own sort of, their case for being the best fan base. I guess instead of Texas, apparently, to some of the shows that we listen to. But this might be a test of that as well, because again, the next drive, even if they don't necessarily, regardless, they are one score away. So yeah, we said they're one field goal away. They're a field goal away from being a field goal away. It's the Bruno Caboclo of scores right now, but a touchdown score on the game, like Texas A&M offense on the field on the next possession, regardless of what the score is, there should be some energy, some of that extra energy as well too in the stadium. Like, how would the Seattle fans be reacting to individual moments throughout the game here? We got a scramble. Arch heaves it down the field, wide open. Chat! Does he get it? Does he get it? I don't know if it was a great throw, but the receiver gets the catch, chat. Hey, yo, Ryan Wingo. 29 yards, chat. Touchdown, Texas. There's the life in Texas Stadium. Shout out. I guess, Manning has got us being a Texas Mistress team, chat. Hey, yo, Michigan, don't look. We play tomorrow. We play tomorrow. I was just a little, getting nervous before the big game, chat. Hey, yo, but Texas is playing well. I guess, good play there. They have the lead. It could be potentially a 3-point game if they get this extra point to go. Kick is up 13-10 on the number 3 team in the nation. Okay, Chad, do we have to move quickly over to the next drama? We can't forget. I mean, we're putting aside, I guess, the rest of the sports world to focus in on this game. It is what it is. Arch Manning in real time, chat. But the Magic trying to continue this Pistons losing streak. They have a 1-point lead right now on Detroit. Offensive rebound. Oh, Franz missed a 3. Offensive rebound. Suggs. Cade with the steal. Oh, there's drama, chat. There's drama. Cade just got pressure on Suggs. Oh, and Franz just bricks another 3. The Pistons can't get an offensive rebound. Oh, we can't keep up. We can't keep up. I don't know. Do we have time to recap the sequence here? Hey, yo, we got to let Bane drive. Bane, feed to Carter. Okay, they foul Carter with 16 seconds left. So, Franz had an ISO 3. I don't even know where he started. He might have started on the left side. Bricked that. The Magic got an offensive rebound. Suggs was dribbling around half court. Cade almost stole it from Suggs. And then Franz, off of that, got another ISO 3, which he bricked. And then Bane got an offensive rebound, but it was like a park offensive. It was bounced off the floor and went to him from the 3-point line. And then off the drive, the pass to Carter, the foul, which actually led to an inbound, not a shot attempt. So I guess in some ways a good foul there as well too. That low on the shot clock is going to make did we pronounce it correctly? Is going to make it difficult. But Franz, he bricks 3 in a row, chat. And a fourth, is that 4 offensive rebounds? How many in a row? Oh, chat, you give it up right there. Pause. You just give it up. I mean, you got to close it out. The fundamentals, chat. Bickerstaff. Oh, we better have him boxing out. Pause in the practices. I don't know if he looks disgusted enough, chat. I mean, come on, you gotta be rolling the eyes, throwing the clipboard. Oh yeah, there we go. He looks over in disgust. Was that at the ref? If you're looking at the ref in disgust at your own team, that actually might be the worst, Chad. Hey yo, that might be the worst subtle diss we've ever seen. I don't know if that's the first time we've ever seen that, but just for recently, that is crazy. I guess I didn't see who the bald head was they're responsible for, but might be the ref. Do we see? Was there a ref with a bald head, or is that a coach, an assistant coach? Oh, there is an assistant coach there. I guess there's a couple, but I think it was a white guy. But I think I see a white bald head on the sidelines. So it might have been him. But it could have also been. Okay, we got a ref with sort of. I guess we're not gonna call out everybody's hairline, but just in terms of finding the description, because that's all we have to work off of. So we don't really know who was looking at there. Suggs does make both free throws though, so they do somehow have an opportunity to at least tie this game with 6.3 left. if they get a 3-point attempt there. But hey, yo, and not to call out anybody individually, but again, the Pistons are a good rebounding team, so we could double check the lineup that they had on the court at the moment. Was it like Duncan Robinson? I think Robinson was out there and Cade out there, but still, you have Asar and Dern and some of the other guys. Like, you still think he should be able to come down with a rebound at some point if they have 3 to 4 opportunities. And again, it wasn't even the Magic necessarily out rebounding the Pistons. It was just the Pistons letting the shots get into the backcourt, and the guards and those backcourt players from the Magic were picking up those rebounds off of that. So I don't know when we're actually going to get to this Bears-Eagles game. Maybe not, chat. Maybe not. Barkley, again, I don't know. We're scared to look at the Barkley highlights. Of course, this seems more like his average for the year at this point, if we're kind of in the 56 yardage mark. I guess if you give him 22 or 26 carries, he does get to 112 yards at that point. So I don't know, maybe his per carry is still like okay, but of course, I think a 13 for 56 is not the type of performance where it's like maybe he should have had more carries. Yeah, hey yo, chat, Manning almost overthrew that. Hey yo, and I guess you only have to get 1 foot down. It was getting close to that sideline though, so shout out, clutch stuff. And Marcel Reid with the opportunity. Okay, there we go. Texas fans getting worked up. There's the cheering. Let's see him put some pressure on this Texas offense. But you see immediately the Texas offense, and maybe they have better receivers than the Texas offense as well too. But A&M is, and I guess we should maybe just clarify, Texas can be Texas, but A&M, is just A&M. So I guess I'm sure we'll say Texas and just refer to them at, in reference to A&M later. But we'll try our best to just say A&M, and then Texas will be the Longhorns. But A&M might have better receivers than the Longhorns, but still the style, some of the easier throws should be mixed in. But I guess Manning was able to hit a shot there that was off of a little bit of a broken play, and again, the guy was wide open, and he almost just chucked it out the back of the end zone. So we can't get too critical on the plays that are good. But if we're also, once the minute he starts making good plays, of course, we have to watch those good plays with the NFL mindset just to see, what it is. But in terms of a college mindset, in terms of winning this game, of course, it's the plays that you need. The quarterback that you need, Chad, I guess, is it the quarterback that they deserve? I don't really know, what they would have to do there to, what the deserved is. They've had some good quarterbacks. It's not like they're desperate for a guy, but it has been a minute as well too, so in some ways. But timeout on a 3rd and 1 here for A&M. So there we go, chat. There we go. That, you gotta say, is like an energy type of play right there. I don't know if it was a crowd so loud he couldn't get the play call in, but there is just the overall vibe of, this is a little bit of a moment. We kind of might need to pick up this first down here. There's some energy in the stadium. Maybe we just take a breath. And figure this play out. And again, that's just from the environment they're in as well too. So you got to give the Texas fans a little bit of credit for that there as well. Shout out to Orlando for taking down Detroit. So we knew it, chat. Detroit's not going to win the title, but are they still good? Of course, you got to give them their credit. Shout out. Orlando, record-wise, has been a little bit slower off to start the year than, we assumed maybe they would be. But here, we can even check what they've been recently, or if they've just won the right games. Because now I think they might be 4-0 in the NBA Cup now. So I don't know if this is good or bad, but the NBA Cup is, gives the opportunity for these, because of the fact that just these quote-unquote random regular season games, again, if you just play well for your NBA Cup games, then, you're good to go there. You can be in Vegas winning a tournament. See, they're 11-8 so far on the season, starting to get above 500, and I guess now they are 5-6 in their, or 5-1 in their last 6 games. So you can see that their record is starting to turn around a little bit. Franz on the year, 35% from 3. Those bricks tonight were not going to help. 23 a game. Palo, 46, 25, 21, 4, and 8 is, numbers that still would have, you would still think would have room to improve at some point this year as well too. But you see their wins becoming a little bit more impressive as well. Yeah, really good win over Philly, New York. The Clippers And, you know, the Clippers don't have a great record, but still, you know, you got to be competitive to beat them. And the Warriors as well, too. And I guess even going back before that, 3, 6, 7, 8, if we go for today. So 8-2 in their last 10 have been kind of sneaky, one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. So shout out to Mosley as well, too. You know, like we're literally seeing with Detroit, the team that they just played. You know, again, this could be obviously the ebbs and flows of the season. Are they 11-8? Are they going to be around this, you know, same kind of win percentage at the end of the year? You know, we'll see. We'll see, obviously. But the turnaround in terms of, instantly kind of getting this team back on track a little bit and getting them competitive where it felt like they were really going to take a slide back is impressive. And do they, speaking of simple rating system, does Basketball Reference have them at 5th overall? They might, Chad. Hey, yo. We may have to go look that up real quick to see how they have that ranked out. They have them 9th in net rating. So you see offensively at 6th and defensively now up at 11th. Can we go like net rating over or defensive rating over the last month of the season? Because I feel like that was a little bit of an issue for them here to start. Hey, wait, are we on the 25s here? Hey, yo. The new menu is getting us messed up. Let's go schedules and results here and see if we can see some of these scores. I guess, it's okay. They were definitely, again, losing some more here. 98 points scored is definitely more of an offensive issue. 126. Yeah, 126, 135. Anyways, back-to-back is tough. And then you throw a 131 in there. So I guess you're still susceptible, of course, a 138 versus Boston. And again, it really has, I guess, been their offense more so taken over than their defense. I guess just, they're playing better. Maybe just watch some games for Orlando and see what's going on is probably actually the right answer. But, again, shout out to Mosley for what was looking like a little bit of a tough situation there to start the season, at least for him, in terms of what would this team need to do to take the next step. And, again, maybe this is at least see what happens this year and let him have an opportunity with the team. But I guess that's the game we chose for that window of games there, because that was basically, well, I guess we got a good window of games here. And we still got a fourth quarter going for Brooklyn versus New York. So maybe we tune into the last 2 minutes of that. I don't know if we can tap in there. Oh, chat. Here we go. How could we forget? Hey, yo, this is what happens when you have so many games on. Shout out. I guess this is what also happens when you don't have Wemby in the games as well, too. Spurs versus Denver. Winner takes West Group C. Okay, chat. A chance for De'Aaron Fox and Steph Castle to step up and claim some NBA Cup pedigree without Wemby. I mean, who would have thought? Wemby Ewing theory. They could win the NBA Cup without Wemby, but we'll see if they're able to get past Jokic. How will Luke Cornett and Kelly Olynyk hold up against Jokic without Wembanyama? Will really be, I guess, the question of how they handle this team. But, yeah, wait, let's go back to the simple rating system real quick, because that seemed interesting. Whoa, okay. Miami's the number 1 team in the East. I mean, you've got the Thunder as the best team in the league, and the Thunder as the best team in the West are almost twice as good on the rating system as the Heat, which are the number 1 team in the East. So they have Miami number 1 overall in the East in terms of simple rating system. The Magic 2, New York 3, Toronto 4. And then you go OKC, Houston, Denver, San Antonio as your top 4 in the West. And San Antonio, behind Orlando behind Miami and Orlando too for teams, and New York. Hey, yo. So they're actually the 7th out of those top 8 teams. They still got us above the Raptors, which is something. But hey, one of the top 8 teams in college football in the NBA is, a really great place to be with a stud player, a place you'd expect to be a little bit with a player of that ilk. And then, hey, we use that twice today, Chad. And then, with the supporting cast continuing to, prove itself, this NBA Cup is a good opportunity for that. But the Miami Heat being number 1 in the East, does that make Norm Powell like an all-NBA guy this year? Here, we can double-check his stats. I know we've done a couple of Norm Powell stat checks, but he continues to improve. And I was seeing a post as well, too, of some guys' stats that were being underrated. It was like Michael Porter is like 28 a game over the last couple of games. Like, oh, shout out. I mean, he's definitely played well in some of those Brooklyn games that we have tuned into. So can't say we're overall surprised, but sometimes you forget to look at like the averages. He's like, okay, he's actually stringing these games together. Like, this is actually a good stretch of the season. But make no mistake, Norm Powell's Norm Powell's one of our guys. So we're definitely locked in there. Tyler Hero, only 2 games played this year, so they were pretty good. But yeah, 49-44 at 25 a game for our guy, Norm Powell. So, I mean, numbers-wise, that's more efficient numbers than Jimmy Butler ever put up offensively, scoring anyways. And, Jimmy Butler was never really a perimeter threat as well, too. So we're not saying Jimmy Butler Ewing theory, but that's just that Miami. I mean, it is, I guess, the Miami Magic. I don't know. Maybe Miami Magic is something else that maybe Norm Powell doesn't want to get tested for, see what the performance is. But regardless, whatever Miami Magic is, I don't know. Has Pusha T ever rapped about Miami Magic? We'll have to see. But or maybe Rick Ross. I don't know. Maybe an actual Miami rapper too. But maybe Pusha T's rapped about some North Folk Magic. We'll have to see there. 4th and 1 for Texas A&M, and they're going for it. And did they just get the false start? Chat the crowd. Hey, yo. So in Texas as well, like, Texas is actually more of a threat to Michigan in the playoffs than Texas A&M is, I guess, because, well, Texas A&M, I guess, is more of a threat if they were to play, maybe. But, again, Texas A&M is kind of, like, in the playoffs at this point. So, Michigan can't really take a spot from Texas A&M, or Texas A&M can't really take Michigan's spot. I guess Michigan would have to somehow take Texas A&M's spot. If the Ohio State win, I don't even know if we can get in the Big Ten. We'd have to check our Big Ten odds as well, too, with the win there. But, again, Texas is 1 spot behind us in the rankings. So if they win and, I guess if we lose, they've got us in that range where if we win, we have a chance, but if we lose, of course, I think I don't even check our own record, chat. We're just, really waiting for this game and crossing our fingers. Okay, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It is what it is. But the 4th and 6, now they're forced to punt. Uh-oh, chat. Uh-oh. And we're not saying Texas is going to pour it on here, but that would be something that would definitely continue to help improve their playoff resume. And again, the drama, I guess I should say again, but we have mentioned this, before, just in talking about the playoff expanding to the 12 teams. And, it was fun anyways to have drama amongst those top teams in terms of, like, the 5th team is in a little bit of a, and, I guess once you get into the playoffs, it is sudden death. But just in terms of that anticipation of who could potentially get in and what the scenarios are, you have sometimes those last couple of teams battling it out for that 4th and 5th spot. And, again, those are some of the best teams in college football. That's really competitive, and you're really, really comparing resumes there. But you're still going to have that drama. Again, it's just with the 12th and 13th teams. So while it is a little bit, in theory, lower tier teams, it is at a good time where college football does have a lot of talent. And with the NIL stuff, the mobility rules opening up a little bit, it does allow the teams to, again, become a little bit more potentially evenly talented in that way. And the drama amongst these teams is still pretty fun as well, too. And again, because of the cycle of college football, there are going to be years where, Texas and Michigan, it's like, okay, they might be comfortably in the playoffs, but also Texas and Michigan are like fighting for playoff spots right now, but also it's because of the 12th and 13th teams in the nation. So again, 15th and 16th teams in the nation. Oh, Arch over the middle. Hits open receivers. So if anything, Arch has proven that he can play in Shanahan's offense. That's the first level of, has he graduated, chat? Has Arch Manning graduated in NFL, in our NFL, our little NFL scout brain, to being a Shanahan level quarterback? He can sit back and make open throws, but he's ripped a couple into the open space. I guess that one, but he was standing in the pocket, good clean throw, receiver wide open. You gotta make that one accurately, Chad. You gotta put that one right on the, the perfect, the money spot for the receiver. Oh, Texas guy put it on the ground, chat. I thought he fumbled there, but it seems like he was either down or it was just didn't quite fumble, just kind of a little bit of a dramatic tackle. I don't want to just divulge. I don't want to just become a play-by-play alt broadcast. Well, I guess in some ways we are doing that a little bit, anyways. But just in general, but I don't know if we can focus too much on the Texas A&M game or not. But it does feel like, again, it is sort of the thing to pay attention to in the moment. So I guess if we're having fun watching it, chat, there's really no reason to switch it up at the moment until Texas starts going backwards, and then pause, and then we immediately switch over to the NFL highlights. But we do got to catch up on those and see what happens. So make no mistake. I guess at some point here we will, and worst case scenario, after this fourth quarter, we just run through those. Pause. Couple of game highlights real quick. Wouldn't be the worst case scenario as well too. But Arch Manning here, 2nd and 12 with important drive and only 40 seconds left in the third. Big drive, Jim. Alert. And again, same spot on the field. This time it's the tight end. He breaks away. He's inside the 5. He's out at the 2, chat. Hey, maybe the 3. But same left side, kind of maybe the inside receiver, but kind of ending up on that, the number, the hash, between the hash numbers type area on the field. And Manning just, in his footwork, has been able to sit back and make that read easily. And looking at the making his reads, you do see him start, on the one side of the field. Again, he has a good amount of time to work back across and just wide open. The confidence to rip that throw. But Arch has the energy. The Texas fans have the energy. Oh, Cooper in the stadium, chat, just trying to blend in. I don't know if he's filming a bit right now for college football. You never know if he's making it content. But, he is, a hard-working man. You got to shout out. And obviously, potential proud moment here if the fourth quarter plays out in their favor. Woo, chat. I guess we're going to lock in. We're going to lock in because we've been locked in the entire time. It is what it is. So locked in. We can't even focus on the stats and the game highlights on in the background. It is what it is. But stay tuned. Fourth quarter up next, chat. Arch Manning, Marcel, Reid. Do we call it a Heisman battle? Potential. Is this like a NFL, we get like a finals battle or a Super Bowl preview? Potential Orange Bowl preview? Who knows? But either way, high drama in the fourth quarter. Up next is Arch Manning and Marcel Reid. Battle it out, chat. Don't go anywhere. Okay, chat, we're in luck. Texas scored. I said we. Hey, that's not good. But again, I guess they're the mistress team for the night. It is what it is. So we are in, chat. Texas. Oh, I guess we, the Arch Manning fans. I think that's what I mean. It doesn't even sound right. You know, when we say it, we can't even say the words, chat. Hey, yo, it is what it is. We don't mean it, but I guess just, you know, it's just Arch Manning. It's just the bloodlines, the legacy. Well, I don't know what we're allowed to say. We're making certain comparisons, but you know, it's just the legacy of it all. The fact that, of course, you know, it is what it is. I think you all understand if you look around the room. But shout out, 20-10. If they knock in this field goal, and they said that they matched the yardage in the third quarter with the yardage in the first half for Texas as a team, and I don't know if we can put up the stats for like other quarters that they've had, but again, this could be, I mean, you got to say it's the best quarter in the Arch Manning era and maybe the best quarter under Sark, just considering the circumstances as well too. So great little reverse play call there to the tight end and easily jogs into the end zone off of that pass, setting them up for the 2-score lead here. And like we said, not a team that is designed to put on points, but they've hit a couple of big plays. You know, we got to give them credit to sticking a little bit to the offense, and you know, the opportunities were there, but the you know, them connecting on the opportunities, and then the players making the yards after the catch plays as well too, like we just saw that tight end. You know, definitely things starting to click here a little bit for them just as a team, and like we were saying, for them putting together a playoff resume. You know, if Michigan, I guess Michigan winning against Ohio State is going to be good no matter how they do it. You know, again, Ohio State's been so good this year, but Texas A&M is not too far off of that level. You know, the record is obviously pretty similar. You know, Ohio State does have the pedigree as well, too, of being the defending national champion. So there is a little bit extra of a factor with that. But, you know, QB talent for, you know, you start going down the list, again, they're very, very closely matched teams. So, and maybe we're just saying that to cope with the, you know, the general field sort of side of the bet, but Texas actually showing themselves a dominant team, maybe just again against any sort of other team. And I know with respect to Vanderbilt, because they were, and I don't know, we're calling out Vanderbilt before we even say it, but they were saying earlier that they were like, this could be Texas's third top 10 win of the season. I was like, wait a second. I saw that, we were looking at the schedule earlier. I was like, okay, I remember that Oklahoma win. And then what was the other one? I was like, oh, that's right. They played Vanderbilt when Vanderbilt was ranked 9th in the nation. So Vanderbilt is, of course, at 14th. And I guess they could also be a top 10 team by the time it's all said and done. You know, the overall difference from 9 to 14, you know, at the end of the day, it's still a really, really good win. But, you know, is it the quite same pedigree win? And, you know, at the end of the day, good wins are good wins. And they have an opportunity to get this really, really good win here. And if they do that, then, you know, that is ultimately what matters. But I think IT, in an attempt to get us to focus on the NFL games, they sent us a little video here, and I don't know, we can't look it up on the gram, so I see if we'll find it. But it was Ben Johnson after today's game. Let's see if we can see here. Ben Johnson post game. Let's see what we got. Well, not necessarily interview, but it was his speech to the team in the locker room. 2nd and 7, Texas's defense holds them short. It's going to be a little 3rd and intermediate situation here. Videos. Let's see if we've got live, not live footage, but up to the minute reactions. Of course we don't, because Bing never delivers, and for some reason we never switch over. It is what it is. Was that an option? Post game? Yeah. Interview today. Can we go post game locker room today if we have to get super ultra specific? And as for, here we go, chat. Bears coach Ben Johnson. I guess, chat, from Steve Harvey to Ben Johnson. Hey, yo, this is a fun pod today. But the energy, I guess, in the post-game speech was maybe not something that we expected from Ben Johnson as well. You know, he does come from, pause, hey, yo, he does originate, I don't know what the right word is. He stems from the Lions' Dan Campbell coaching tree. So here, I don't know if we can get a load on this. Yeah, whoa, wait, yo, pause. If we can get this video to load, you know, what's the right way to say it? But I think either way, if you guys kind of see the thumbnail, I guess, do we get a preview if we hover over it? Maybe not. Let's see if we can find one. Or this guy just being great. Oh, this guy's funny as well. I think I've seen this video. This guy just yelling at the golf course. Is that Ben Johnson? Hey, yo, did we catch the culprit? But you see the energy after the game was high level, ripping off the shirt, going crazy with the team. And again, definitely a move that I would have thought maybe Dan Campbell would have made. And I thought, oh, Chet, in delay a game from Texas A&M, Ringer tailgate, we're starting to beef. Eat your words. The Texas crowd is good. Hey, yo. But rivalry week called out. But what were we saying? The energy that Ben Johnson brings to the team, when you watch the Lions offense and you watch that team function over the last couple of years, you would have considered that maybe a little bit more of, and again, they were such an effective offense, a high-flying team. Would a finesse team be the right term? And maybe just offensive-minded coaches get that label in general. The defensive coach provides, they're usually the culture guys. You don't really think of them as like culture guys. We're not trying to get, super crazy here, but you never think of the defensive coaches as necessarily like the X's and O's coach. He's going to have the great play designs and, really draw up the stuff for the team. In some ways, Belichick was a little bit X's and O's from a defensive coach standpoint, obviously more than a little bit, but did, in terms of a notoriety aspect, get the game planning, sort of part of his, he had the game planning badge if we were going from like a 2K standpoint, but I don't know if a lot of coaches would necessarily have that sort of thing. Again, you think of a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who's like a special teams guy with the toughness of, and the defense hasn't been great the last couple of years, but there's a toughness of that team. Tomlin, NFC or AFC North teams have the sort of toughness versus like O'Connell in Minnesota. Maybe that's sort of an offensive team and the play calling and stuff like that. But regardless, with seeing Ben Johnson's energy, and if he does sort of match that Dan Campbell vibe, that does actually make sense for what that team is. Yes, the offense, or what this team is, I guess I should say, is maybe the proper way to say it, but the offense is not, again, the high-flying offense of Detroit. And that was something that we were looking at for Ben Johnson as well, too. It's like, is he the right fit for Caleb Williams if he wants to be this sort of type of quarterback? Maybe he needs, maybe Caleb Williams just needs a different type of coach, and who knows, ultimately what that would be. But this is a very, they win these sort of grinded out football games. The defense has been really, really good this year. Caleb Williams has been able to power him to some of these wins in these fourth quarters, and it does feel a little bit like it has some of that Dan Campbell toughness. And a lot of the stuff that goes wrong with the Lions per se right now, maybe not right just all right now, but Campbell does have his issues, of course, or maybe his gambling moments, we should say, with actually, again, gambling in some of these fourth down scenarios and just kind of sticking to his bit there. And I guess, we'll see how kind of Ben Johnson behaves in some of those moments. But again, from the sort of vibe and competitiveness and overall play of the team, Lions have been one of the better teams in football this year and just have had some moments, closing out some games where they've been a little short in that. And I guess, like the Packers did get them twice now as well, too. I guess I didn't think about that watching the game the other day, but because, in some ways week one does, pause feel like so long ago, and the Lions, were such a different team than that week one game, but the Packers did, and sometimes football can be matchup based like that. We literally saw that with Darnold last year, where he was great against every team against these couple of teams, and unfortunately he matched up against one of them in the playoffs and they took him down. So if the Lions maybe don't play the Packers in the playoffs, they're a good team, but the Packers are clearly a tough matchup for them. Can they get them 3 times in a row? I guess would be the ultimate question if they were. The only thing in the favor for them is the Packers have beat them too many times in a row at this point going into a playoff scenario. But outside of that, they've been pretty much the better team the entirety of the season. Love was pretty consistent in the game, for what he has been maybe for the course of this season, and he's definitely been maybe a post-Thanksgiving guy as well, too. So is this the start of the stat line check on the Pro Football Reference when we go back? And it's like, okay, this game going forward is how, really good for the rest of the way the season played out. But he was, the Packers were kind of the better team for a little bit of that game. And Amon-Ra went out as well, too, I guess. So that is definitely a big part of it. And, Jameson Williams was able to step up and, get really good stats as well, too. But I guess point more so for the Bears anyways was that clip that I just saw did make really, in a sense, a lot of the, did make the season make a little bit more sense. And maybe if we had watched some more of the Ben Johnson press post game situation type stuff, we'd be a little bit more locked in on his vibe. But again, just watching the teams and watching that history in Detroit, I would have expected it to be a little bit more, offensive-y finesse type team. But no, it is that psycho crazy tough team, and he definitely is the leader behind that as well too. He's the lead psycho there in Chicago, and in a good way. You can see obviously that energy bearing out into some great wins. And 9-3, at this point they would sit above the Eagles in the playoff rankings. I know the Eagles still are winning their division, but and Manning had a guy on 3rd and 12. Ooh, he could have hit him, but it was a little bit off on the route. Just kind of not on the route, but the route kind of bending in. Manning just threw it a little bit too in the field, and he just wasn't quite able to get to it. Maybe underthrew him just a tad as well too. Pressure bearing down, so not quite able to step into it as much as maybe you like, but would have been a really good downfield throw to hit. And again, was able to make that throw earlier. Now we're really being picky again in a 10-point game, of the performances. We're just saying, the down the field throw earlier, a little bit off. Great play by the receiver, and then that was a good catch and run by the tight end as well too to set him up. So, captaining the team, making the plays as they need to be made, like we're saying, is important for them winning this game and for them setting themselves up for playoff, national title expectations, whatever. But if we're going the extra level as well too, that would be a pretty good throw to make. I get the other question, of course, would be in college football, who is consistently making, big throws as well too all the time. In moments, Ty Simpson has been maybe the best quarterback this season. Of course, Marcel Reid has had his time. Julian Sayin again in Ohio State. You got to give him his credit for the consistency that he's been able to power that team to, and they, with the run game and stuff as well, have again just a real complete team. I mean, even Mateer had his moments of being the best quarterback in college football. I guess we're leaving out Dante Moore's name. Mendoza literally has been probably the Heisman leader for a majority of it, but it does in a little bit of a way feel like him being an accumulation of, and I'm not trying to disrespect him, but kind of week to week, maybe the number 2 quarterback versus, always sort of being the best quarterback in college football. Though, speaking of clips, now that I think about it, I did see a clip of him. I think it was on a pod with Urban Meyer and Rob Stone. I didn't even know they had a pod, but some sort of Fox Sports pod. And he was breaking down whoa, wait, yo, what was he? What kind of pod was this? He was breaking down film, we should say, breaking down clips with a P, clips of. He was breaking down clips bars. It was the Dissect pod with Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer breaking down rap lyrics. But does the guy from the Dissect pod look a little like Urban Meyer? I guess they're both, they're both white guys. But other than that, we're out here saying that. But other than that, so maybe they both listen to clips as well too. I'm sure Urban Meyer listens to clips, right? Urban Meyer's cool. Urban Meyer's got girls dancing on him at the bar. But he could be like a Bruce Springsteen guy as well too, or some old school guy like that. Who does everybody? Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's the old guy. Who's the old guy that everybody listens to? That's Bob Dylan, right? So or like old guys listen to as well too. Like a college football head coach is probably listening to Bob Dylan. It's something basic like that, where it's like, okay, is Bob Dylan, did he have music or is it just poetry? Like, I'm not sure what Bob, I can't really like think of a Bob Dylan beat, and I could be wrong. Like, I guess we could go to Who Sampled right now and see, who like what is the most popular Bob Dylan beat that's ever been flipped into a song. But I wouldn't necessarily, I don't think of like great arrangements when I think of Bob Dylan, but I don't ever like, I honestly like can't, and no disrespect to Bob Dylan, I don't even know why we're on we don't listen to Bob Dylan corner. I guess we're just reflecting our own personal music rotation with Spotify Wrapped around the corner, but I can't even really think of a Bob Dylan song. Like, I couldn't, like, there's not just like a Bob Dylan melody that just pops in my head when I'm like, oh yeah, Bob Dylan. I just let me recall this great Bob Dylan tune that I listen to all the time. Like, or like, oh yeah, this Bob Dylan song that plays on the radio, or not even like we listen to the radio, but just like would be on like a station at work where it's like, here's this. And I guess now that I say that, there's no way that Bob Dylan doesn't play at work. There's got to be some Bob Dylan song but also I feel like you hear kind of a maybe like a slower guitar and then a guy kind of mumbling some words. You're like, is that Bob Dylan? It could also be Johnny Cash as well too, though. I gotta say, I don't think I've ever heard Johnny Cash play at work. And make no mistake, I wouldn't say I listen to Johnny Cash, but I would know Johnny Cash's voice if we heard it. I guess I don't know. I haven't heard it in a while enough to do like an imitation of it, maybe. But he might be like a top 8 unique voice in music. Just and for his popularity as well too. Just anybody that hears it would kind of know who it is. He might be up there as well. I don't know who would. Maybe Elvis would be. Imagine still. I guess Michael. Like if you just heard a clip of Michael, and the fact that we don't have to say the full name as well too. I mean, if Michael Jordan was talking, maybe you would recognize his voice. He's pretty famous, but Michael Jackson for the distinctness of the voice as well too. Obviously very recognizable, but that is a little bit the point. And also he's just so famous as well that again, just his. Yes, his voice is distinct, but also he's so famous that his distinct voice became, so famous as well too. There are other people with distinct voices that are not as universally known as Michael Jordan or Michael Jordan, they're not as universally known as Michael Jordan or Michael Jackson. So, and we're talking about speaking voices here as well too. And, again, just people just knowing or I guess not speaking voices, singing and speaking voices, I guess, if we're talking about listening to them on the radio. But I guess you got to know Michael's voice if it pops on. But otherwise, I guess it might be Elvis, and then it might be Johnny Cash. And again, I guess we're being, that's an old name as well too. I'm just throwing out there. So I guess like Louis Armstrong. If you hear Louis Armstrong's voice, like there's no way you don't know it's like it's Louis Armstrong if you're listening to Louis Armstrong, even if you don't know the song. And I don't know if I'm allowed to do a Louis Armstrong imitation, but I feel like I'd be a little closer to accurately, that one I maybe could do right now than a Johnny Cash. I'm not sure, just because that you got the gravelly voice in there as well too, and just maybe it's even a little bit more unique than Johnny Cash, so a little bit maybe easier to do on an impression. So actually Louis Armstrong might be number 1, and I don't know if top 3 as well too. Mount Rushmore, just unique music voices, and if we're just judging based on a uniqueness scale, of course it would be like maybe like a 10 out of 10 unique, but also just maybe distinct is also the word we're looking for. I guess recognizability is also the other easy one. The easy word to throw out. I don't know if you have to pull up a thesaurus here or not to help us out, but get the right name for the segment. But, most recognizable voices in music, he's definitely up there. Because even, that whole collection of like some those like crooner guys, I don't know if that's the right term for it, but you start getting like Bing Crosby and Frank. I guess, Frank Sinatra is obviously so popular that you were like, okay, Frank Sinatra's playing. It's like, I'm pretty sure that's Frank Sinatra. Hey, is that Frank Sinatra? But you're like, oh, it's actually Bing Crosby. You'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Close enough. And I feel like there might be moments, and maybe Bing Crosby and Frank Sinatra aren't the right crossover, but, that whole collection of Rat Pack type guys that are running around, there are moments when they're sounding a little bit alike on their songs, and, they're covering a lot of the same songs as well too. I mean, a Christmas playlist is just like, it's Dean Martin, Bing Crosby, and Frank Sinatra's version of all the tracks. It's like, okay, 17 songs, and just how many different people covered these songs. But, even, I guess you start getting into hip hop. I guess they're like, Snoop. You'd have to say Snoop as well too. I guess we were staying kind of older there a little bit. Louis Armstrong and Johnny Cash. Hey, Texas A&M gets in the end zone chat while we're rambling about voices. Jimbo Fisher, former Texas A&M coach. I don't know if we can rank college football coach distinct voices. Jimbo Fisher, can you call in? I'm very proud of this Texas A&M team that I've assembled. I think that might be Jerry Jones on the phone. I don't know who that is. Who IT did you call the Reds? Does Jerry Jones know that this is Texas A&M and not Arkansas? I'm not sure. Maybe all Southern impersonations just end up sounding like Jerry Jones. I'm not sure. Just again, I'm saying for us, that's just how our impersonations end up being delivered. It's just for some reason they only are Jerry Jones' voice. It is what it is. But shout out. We pull up a couple Jimbo Fisher clips, and maybe we'll shout out Pusha T Mouse, and then we'll maybe get a little bit more locked in on the on the impersonation there. But we got a game. Texas A&M is back. Marcel Reid. The Heisman's still right there for Marcel Reid. I don't know. Do we have to do live odds? Mendoza today. His. I guess they won. They were doing okay. So Mendoza's probably still cooking. Minus 135. It's going up. I guess we did check earlier. That's right. It was 75-1. Chat. I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing we didn't get the 25-1. We got really great odds now. Pavia plus 650. I mean, I don't know if it's smart to look this up while they're losing by 3 and there's a lot of fourth quarter left, but still, as Diego Pavia had a crazier season than Marcel Reid, I don't know. Here we have to go just check the Marcel Reid game log. Might as well. We keep wandering around it. We keep, kind of mentioning it when we're comparing it to some of these other people. So we definitely just have to look at it and pause and see and just double check and get the stats in the mind. Hey, yo, he's not in the NFL yet. We got to go to the college section and see what's of the stats and see what is going on over here from a game log perspective. I guess, yeah, pretty consistent, as you would imagine, over the last couple of weeks. And I guess, yeah, we did check the interceptions earlier as well, too. But, hey, yo, I guess just it's like, okay, why are they so low? Why are they so low? Maybe we're missing something. We have to do a little bit of a deeper dive. Gunnar Stockton, plus 150. I mean, we're not saying everybody needs to be in contention. This literally with one game left in the season, but for Mendoza loves saying Pavia. Again, like saying at Ohio State, you got to have a guy from Ohio State probably in the mix at this point. And no disrespect to Pavia, but here, let's go to Pavia. Has he just scored way more touchdowns as well, too? You know, he's a little bit, I guess he's got a season on Marcel Reid, so there is a little bit of a veteran status maybe as well, too. That could be in the mix. Okay, he does have 27 touchdowns and, higher completion percentage, so we got to give him his fair respect for what he's doing. Oh, last week he had 484 and 5 touchdowns. Okay, I see. 377 and 3 against Auburn and no picks as well, too. So, yeah, he's been on fire the last 3 weeks. That loss to Texas, 365 and 3 touchdowns, no picks. So, at least from a stat line perspective, and, with as close as that was, difficult to look back and say that is a tough game. So, yeah, great. We probably a better win by Texas than we were giving it respect for. But is Pavia, 10 times, I don't know what the math is here, but it's plus 650 to plus 7,500 for Pavia to Marcel Reid. Just feels, again, like there's value there for Marcel Reid. But, again, it's literally dropping as the live stream goes. So we're clearly not ones to be giving advice or running books because we don't know, how this stuff is supposed to work. But Mendoza minus 135 is looking pretty safe at this point. But yeah, I guess, did we even mention the clip that we were going to talk about earlier with him where it was him breaking down film with Urban Meyer? Hey, yo, I think we just got on some ramble about Pusha T when we were talking about that. But yeah, it was very impressive, his knowledge of the breaking down the plays and the recall in the moment. And I think maybe one of the comments, or maybe it was the caption on the video, said something about Andrew Luck. So I think that kind of subconsciously started to inform our opinion on him from a draft standpoint. But you start making Andrew Luck comps, and it's like, okay, I'm probably going to end up being a fan of this player. It is what it is. But I like, it was kind of that nerdy, high IQ type of quarterback stereotype. Like, could Mendoza be a quarterback at Stanford? Probably. It would probably make sense. So, again, just kind of like, I don't know, again, what the proper thing is for the stereotypes, but would it be, Chad, what's a good stereotype in 2025? But, if it's like, okay, is this quarterback also an architectural engineer? Could be a Stanford quarterback. Again, could be anybody. I'm just saying that in this case, it happens to be Mendoza. I think Andrew Luck has an architectural engineering degree. I don't know if we can Google what Andrew Luck's degree is. I think we can leave him alone as well, too, and just, let it be. But it's in something kind of cool like that. So, shout out. Of course, the man was definitely focused on his studies. And now running the team, hiring a new coach has, kind of his football knowledge and moves making ability being tested here as well, too. The football GMs for college is still a position that we don't really know how important it can be, and I think it is, clearly case to case dependent as well too, because, and I think Steph is the easiest basketball player GM name to think of for Davison. Is he as the GM for all of Davison, or just Davison basketball? And I guess we could look at that for Andrew Luck as well too. But I think he was like making the head coaching hiring and stuff. I guess he had the press release, so again, he could just be the face of it. But if he's in there, making the moves, making the decisions, shout out. Like, is he going to actually, do football front office stuff at other levels, or is it just Stanford and the connection there, and just, I'm sure, wanting to help out the school as well too? He does, again, having the architectural degree, retiring footballer, he does have the professor vibes, where it's just, I just want to be at this school and just teach here. I love Stanford, love the school, big Cardinals fan. So I just, I really want to pay back for what they gave me. I don't even think that's a good Andrew Luck, but Andrew Luck probably a little bit deeper in the pause. The boy, he just did an interview as well too, so we should know what it sounds like. But he was yelling during the interview because they forced a fumble, and he was like, "Oh, ball on the ground, go!" So maybe, I don't know what Andrew Luck is saying in that moment, but we're talking about a fumble, so that could be maybe a couple different scenarios. Oh, another sort of iffy Andrew Luck pass. Arch Manning giving vibes of Andrew Luck. I don't know if he's quite gotten to that level yet, but that might be the biggest compliment, subconscious, Freudian name slip so far that he's gotten. I guess, did we have another one earlier? What did we say? I forget. Did we say Josh Allen? We said Josh Allen would have made a play, but I don't think we accidentally said his name was Josh Allen at some point. So, the Andrew Luck name slip is pretty good. There is some similarities there, there could be some similarities there. We'll see if, of course, they continue to trend in that direction. And he did just, a couple throws ago, hit another one that kind of, again, had to go over the defender. Was actually a little bit of a read, not just the guy wide open, but again, open enough. It was the proper throw. And you at some point you got to give him credit as well too. It's like, yes, you don't always want to be the quarterback from an NFL standpoint. Like, he was only throwing to wide open guys, and there was nobody within 15 yards of any of his receivers, and somehow his completion percentage was really high. Maybe things we've fallen for in the past. But if your read is, hey, there's just always a guy running open on the field, like, that's also, what are you going to do? You just got to make that throw. So, him hitting the throws, again, next level. But starting to drop him in a little bit here. 3rd and 3, they call the QB run. Arch Manning up the middle. Oh, Chet! He takes it in for a touchdown. 7 minutes left with his legs. Pause. Oh, he's made the throws, Chet. He's made the throws, but, Newton, Cam Newton obviously had the runs. Shout out. I guess maybe we shouldn't say obviously, but obviously because he was such a great athlete, he was such a great runner. But, the quarterbacks with the kind of defining run as well, too, is definitely something that, of course, has, been a major highlight. I mean, shout out. I'm thinking of Elway in the NFL and plays like that. But Manning on the 3rd and 3 design run, right up the middle, chat, takes that 10-point lead back. So still enough time here if Texas A&M wants to create chaos. But really, the entire second half now for Texas has been them consistently moving the football up and down the field. I mean, in continuing with the third quarter, like we were saying, has continued to be, the best half so far under Sark and in this era. And, maybe we go back to the Vanderbilt game and rewatch that as well, too, comparing this team. But if they hold out and win this is definitely a win that, and you can tell the committee wants to put them in the college football playoff, make no mistake. But this is a win that definitely gives you that excuse to get in the mix. So I don't know, we can pull up the rankings here and live check this. This is actually the time when the playoff rankings actually matter now, of course, at the end of the year, when we're, a week or two away and we're this close. I mean, shout out, we enjoy the fun of the early rankings, but it's a little like, it's so meaningless. Some of those first 2 weeks, no disrespect. I guess, is this the CFP? Wait, so do they have AP rankings on ESPN? Or what's going on here? Is this ranking outside of that, or is this projections here? We'll see. Or is this even the right week as well too? Oh, is this the first ranking? Wait, where's the date? Oh, November 4th. Okay, there we go. So yeah, ESPN feeding us old articles here in the college football rankings. Okay, we'll just go to the ones that the page that actually says rankings and try to search it out from there. Okay, here we go. College football playoffs. Texas at 16. So yeah, of course, like we we're saying, Michigan up 3 in the, basically an elimination game this week. So Vanderbilt, and they were playing, no, Purdue. Ayo, we're getting our gold letter logos mixed up here. So they've got, that's right, Tennessee tomorrow. Okay, we're locked in. Tennessee tomorrow in a kind of playoff eliminators. So that takes care of Tennessee at 19, USC at 16. Okay, wait, so Miami at 12 is kind of the last team in the playoff mix here. They will have Pitt at 22, so Pitt can kind of 22 in the ranking. Pitt's kind of only in spoiler mode. It'd be a little bit of a jump for them. Utah at 13 are they like against BYU? That'd be a good elimination game. No, they got, is their schedule done? Ooh, they got a win against Kansas. Okay, so Utah ends the season 10-2 and third in the Big 12. So they will probably not be playing for a conference championship. I guess, unless tomorrow they get bumped up to 2 based on the fact. So BYU at 11. Okay, wait a second. We'll sort out the college football playoff ranking. Make no mistake. Maybe staying up to date. Maybe a lesson in staying up to date. I don't know. Good thing. So BYU has a game against unranked UCF. So that would assume that they are a pretty good favorite in that game. And they did get the win over Utah. So, Texas Tech is the other team in the Big 12 right now. So, yeah, conference ranking. I guess if BYU did lose, they would have the same conference record as Utah, but they would have the tiebreaker because, of course, they got the win. So, Utah is out of, it looks like, the Big 12 championship race. So, does that take them out of the playoff contention? That is tough. And they do, again, have them kind of right on the edge there at 13, but I don't know how this jumps in for conference winners. I think all the conference winners are logged in here because they have Miami at 12. They at least have a ACC team at 12, so I guess it could be maybe Virginia as well too, but you just know one of them is going to get in. So, of course, Alabama's going to have to win. They have them at 10. They probably wouldn't drop them out of the playoff ranking at this point. Notre Dame, Oklahoma. So can Oklahoma, if Oklahoma loses, they have the tiebreaker at Tennessee. LSU. Ooh, it's at least an interesting game. Of course, like we're saying, LSU playing for Lane Kiffin, their new coach. I guess he's literally making the decision tomorrow before LSU plays. Is there a reason for that? I'm not sure. But I guess I don't know what time his press conference is. Hey, yo. Or is it Sunday? What day is he making his decision? Lane Kiffin, the quote, wait a second, speaking of it, quote on ESPN, haven't made a decision yet. So he's got a press conference and no decision. What is he, the 49ers trading up for a quarterback, chat? Hey, yo. Throwing it back to the Mac Jones, Trey Lance era. But I guess Mac Jones era is still, just starting in San Francisco and also just ending in some ways as well, too. But, yeah, maybe Oklahoma is on sneaky upset watch for something there. But, yeah, it looks like it might be an either-or situation. So, again, with the conference champions, I wouldn't really know how to project everybody in at the moment. But it does seem like, again, there might be one spot for Michigan, Texas, Vanderbilt, kind of all these teams, depending on how, and the odds they all kind of get upsets as well, too. Maybe a little bit lower if Texas gets an upset. That doesn't necessarily mean that Michigan's not going to win, but, again, Ohio State, maybe a little bit. There may be just in general, as being proved here, a little bit more of a talent, less of a talent separation between these two teams. I mean, are we coping, chat, already? I don't know. We got to give our boys a chance. Shout out. But, again, some other groups are going to be motivated there tomorrow as well. So it does look like the cutoff would probably be, of course, Michigan and Texas, as you would assume, with Utah kind of taking up a spot more so than a playoff spot. a 9-2 Utah versus I guess if Michigan wins, they're 10-2, so record-wise, they would have a case there. And then a 9-2 Utah versus a 9-3 Texas. I mean, Texas is unfortunately for the Utes just gonna win that argument. It is what it is. You know, the Utes are gonna have to make college football a little bit more money as well. If the Utes get their own network, then maybe. I mean, they might now. I mean, it might be is like Roku channel got Utes channel on there. It might be an option, but you know, for an ESPN sort of offshoot channel, maybe they need a little bit more. And you know, shout out, of course, Texas is one of the only schools, so it's not just a diss at Utah. It's also like, you know, nobody else does it, but you know, I think there's maybe money stuff as well too with other, you know, station deals. You know, we could look into how all the inner workings of that go. And you know, again, it's still kind of an outside look for Michigan, but so now we're actually rooting against Texas because now it's like, wait a second, Michigan needs to make the playoffs. But I don't think Michigan's gonna win like Texas, and we're not. At the end of the day, we're not going to like say, hey, we want Texas in over Michigan because of the competitive balance of college football. I'm just saying that I don't know if Michigan is a team that if we think they make the college football playoffs, they could win the national title. They could be really, really feisty. And if they won a couple of games, you know, every game that Michigan wins, whatever happens in the Michigan game, I'm not going to be surprised. If they win, I'm not going to be surprised. If they lose, I'm not going to be surprised. It is what it is. You know, we're just numb to Michigan performances at this point. And then if they were to win a national title, I'd be like, oh, you know, well, I'd be like a pause. But, you know, it'd be obviously a great day for them to win. But, you know, and they just won a couple years ago. So, you know, we can't complain too much. But the expectation. Oh, and Reid with the pick. Reid with the pick at the goal line inside the 2. 3:41 left. Oh, Pavia's going to be in New York. I think Reid is 75 to 1, I think is good odds at this point. I think they're probably just even lower at this point. I think Pavia is the cutoff for the tier of winnable guys. And I think that Texas may be looking at a potential playoff berth after this performance. I mean, they may need to put another point up on the board here. If they get a little 30-plus against Texas A&M, that may be just a good overall showing. You know, again, have they had some offensive performances against them as well? It has happened. But the defense holding the Texas A&M offense to under 20 points is an impressive night. And, you know, again, the Texas A&M offense has moved, but the defense has made plays. They blocked a field goal. They have changed momentum enough to make it a low-scoring game here for Texas A&M. So, still backed up against their own territory. You know, the conservative play calling maybe is... Oh, safety watch! Safety watch. The running back got hit in the end zone, but fortunately he's able to bring it out. But the timeouts for Texas A&M, you know, the conservative play calling will maybe get you the ball back quickly and short field. You know, Marcel, Reid, keep your head up. I know you're down 2 scores, so that is a little bit difficult, obviously. But still a real last fighting chance here if they were able to get a stop. And again, you know, it's Arch Manning, so Steve Sarkisian could just call some runs and punt and say, up 10, we'll play it safe. But, hey, yo, what a win for Sark. What a win for Texas. Are we going to get a field storming here with number 3 in the nation potentially losing? Like we were saying, in the Texas Longhorn Stadium, home court. So ACC or SEC championship game scenarios could be Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, or speaking of Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss is going to need the most to happen. Georgia is in with a Texas A&M loss or Alabama loss, so they will be in. And Alabama is a win and in as well too. So, Texas A&M may have cost themselves an SEC title here. I know that at 11-1, you know, they're still going to be, of course, one of the 12 best teams in the nation. You wouldn't expect them to drop that far out of the playoffs. And, you know, it's not like there's a limit. It's not like it has to be one of the one loss. It's not like it has to be Ole Miss or Texas A&M. You know, it's going to be all these teams are, of course, getting in. But, yeah, and, you know, I guess Alabama's on a lock versus Auburn. You know, that feistiness of that rivalry, anything could happen. But that's still a much more favorable game, obviously, than Texas A&M versus Texas. So their path is looking clear. and Georgia needed the or scenarios. So I guess I guess, are they undefeated in conference play? Here, wait, what was their loss? Oh, was their loss? Their loss was to Bama as well. So that's who they would be playing. Let's see here. Bama, yes, 6-1 in the conference. So if they win, they would go to 7-1 in the conference with tiebreakers over Ole Miss and Texas A&M. I guess they didn't play, so whatever tiebreakers overall they would hold there, they would leap up above them in the rankings. So yeah, Georgia versus Alabama. Hey yo, a chance for Kirby Smart revenge potentially, and a chance for Alabama to maybe re-solidify themselves as another, they could all of a sudden in a couple of weeks be back to a top 5 team as we're headed into the playoff rankings as well too. But I mean, Texas A&M had a number one overall vote there in the AP rankings. So again, as one of the 3 undefeated teams there at the top, definitely a great win. And the crowd, hey yo, now we need a little bit of the buzz, chat. Now we need a little bit of the buzz. The upset is there. You can kind of sense it. I guess 4th and 7 they're punting here, so maybe you need one more stop before you really start to go crazy. But we're starting to get the looks of the Bevo, the mascot, shout out, the pageantry, the celebrations are hopefully a possession or 2 away. Concepcion, will he make a play? Will he change the game? He's dynamic on the punt return. Again, the quick possession and the short field does set you up nicely, but 232 in 2 possessions. You almost go Hail Mary. You just start chucking it down the field and be aggressive here. I don't know what. If, again, because the playoffs are a little bit of a lock, if you kind of just say screw it and see if you can win this game dramatically, because of old school college football, that is the detrimental thing like this. Texas, of course, would be long gone, so maybe they wouldn't be fighting as much as they are in this game, but A&M, of course, could potentially just be knocked out of anything in general if they were to lose this. But you could just be a little extra aggressive and closer to the field goal target line as well too. If it is a quick drive. Oh, it is a quick drive because it's picked off. Oh, there's the crowd chat. Marcel, Reid falling apart at the end of the game. No disrespect. It's a couple of bad plays. We're not rewriting the whole Marcel Reid storyline, but for tonight, unfortunately, it went poorly in the 4th quarter, and Texas is going to take this one. A flag on the court or on the field. So I think that's an after the play situation. First down, Texas, they're saying. Hey, yo, so, refs got to make sure to interject and, kill the fun. Classic buzzkill ref behavior. It is what it is. But shout out to Texas. I guess Michigan record-wise, do we have to be winning in, like we're saying, if we get the win over Ohio State? But if Ohio State ends up, breaking the streak of Michigan wins tomorrow, I think Arch Manning could be looking at himself a playoff appearance. So shout out. I guess 2.5 left. Miracles, could happen here. We don't want to count out anything. And we'll definitely, keep an eye just in case. But a first down here. And Texas A&M, no timeouts. So, a first down or so. And this game should be over. Shout out to Sark. He needed this win just in general. Like we're saying, Manning needed a win. He needed some legacy plays. Second half, 6 for 8, 128 and 2 touchdowns. Best half of football he's played. Maybe statistically he's played a little bit better in some of those other games. But, again, considering the stage, considering the opponent, and also he was just awesome as well, too. Or, we should say really good. He... definitely the most impressive moment so far for this Texas team, for Sark, and, maybe just in general for Sark as a college football head coach. I don't want to be too dramatic about the rest of his career, but this is a really, really impressive moment. And again, to do that type of thing in front of your home fans is a little bit more special. And, how many different stipulating factors can you put on it, of course, but all this stuff does matter for you climbing your way back. And ultimately, there is that one goal of winning the title. But the fact that this team, again, can actually achieve something. So there's a reason we didn't look at those 8-5 teams and those, whatever teams from earlier on. Shout out, no disrespect. It's those moments when you're like, hey, Sark is getting this unit to play better than maybe they should. This team is winning some games. Maybe they should, maybe not all the time as well too, but it's like, hey, these are good seasons trending in the right direction. But at the end of the day, if, and especially back then in the playoff system, but if you're a 4-loss team with a impressive win, it's fun, but it's still them being that underdog team. And yes, they're a little bit of a middle of the tier team in 2025 rankings right now at 16. But again, they still have some national title expectations if they were to, or we should say there is a very decent level amount of, they're a very competitive team for 2025 that can cause some damage if they were able to get into the playoffs. And that hope factor combined with the fact that, again, they get a really good win just makes this a really, really special moment. And Sark definitely, has to be proud of what was achieved. And, hey, not to be distracted by, what was going on in Spurs Denver, but Dylan Harper, who is just returning from injury with getting caught up with Bruce Brown here in the third quarter, and hopefully he is okay. They're, I think, reviewing for some Bruce Brown, see the severity of the penalty there, maybe probably just a little flagrant one they'll end up hitting him with, but I didn't see Dylan Harper there, so hopefully they didn't take him back to the locker room, or, hopefully they took him back to the locker room to see if he's okay, but, hopefully it's not that bad there with him getting mixed up. So, hey, should we take a quick scan around I guess we didn't catch up on the NFL as much as we thought, but, we got still an NFL Sunday, and, we got to talk about something on an NFL Sunday. You expect there to be some football, but I guess they're just going to have it all during the week this week. It is what it is. So we can catch up maybe a couple days late, but we can catch up on the NFL games on the NFL Sunday show and process what is happening to Kansas City, maybe fully revisit this Bears-Eagles game in a proper recap as well tomorrow. Maybe sit down and run through the game highlights, the gameplays for this one. But yeah, here, let's double check these NBA scores before we take off. And of course, we hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and is having a great Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know, does anybody have an earbud in, and are they Black Friday shopping right now? I mean, we could blame a whole lot of things for why Black Friday shopping is not the same. I mean, again, it's a whole lot of things. I mean, I think it is also just as simple as, hey, a lot of stuff is online now, and Cyber Monday. I mean, these sites are running deals all the time trying to fake you out to buy things. So it's a little bit more of the same just in terms of, hey, this site's running promotions. Shocker. But also, again, like we're saying, Cyber Monday, people are like, well, if I don't want to shop on Black Friday, I can just wait and get it online. So it's like, hey, well, might as well make Black Friday a little bit more of an online thing. And then if it's online, we don't need to have the in-store experience be as much of a focus just in terms of like hours and, whatever the sort of novelty factor of that used to be back in the day. But I guess regardless, if you do have a earbud in, popping around the mall or something, we appreciate it. Of course, the YouTube, we go live here Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. Typically, if, we mix it up, maybe because of whatever's going on in life, we'll still try to be on 3 to 4 times a week. But Sunday, Tuesday, Friday is the schedule here. And, of course, like I said, join us live on YouTube. You can also find them uploaded afterwards on the podcast feeds like Spotify, Apple, and all those different platforms. And you can send us a message at RemingtonM on Instagram if you want to connect with us over that way. So shout out to Texas, chat, for an impressive win. And 3 minutes left. Oh, there's Harper at the free throw line. Okay, he is okay. And I guess, are we gonna have this 340 on in the background anyways? Do we just stay and see what's going on, since the Spurs have made a little 9-0 run here to close this to a 6-point game with 3.5 left? I mean, they've got Carter Bryant on Jokic, so maybe it's a good thing we tuned in, because that might be the biggest resume win for Carter Bryant so far. Shout out for that draft pick looking like it was, even in the summer league, you're like, hey, wait a second. There is a little bit something more here than maybe we thought. But to see him even going up against fives like that, again, we thought maybe versatile small ball 5 with a 5 next to Wemby. So there is that necessity tonight, of course, without Wemby, of him having to guard Jokic. But you think if Wemby's even out there, just strategically, they like to use him, of course, as that sort of roaming defender and free safety type guy, and just let him athletically and just his size, of course, be a positive factor around the basket. But if, again, with Carter Bryant out there, that could actually be, hey, maybe Carter Bryant guards Jokic and Wemby's actually able to do that. So the Nuggets do have, is Aaron Gordon out for the year? I forget what his injury, let's hope not. I'm just assuming he's not. So, Aaron Gordon, of course, has shown his ability to make some threes, and they do have a good perimeter element there that, you can't just necessarily have Wemby just not covering guys. But I think with Denver, them not being the Warriors of old, they can make that work. And again, just to see the versatility there from a player like Bryant is encouraging overall. The competitiveness as a rookie as well too. So wait, now it's Keldon Johnson on Jokic. I might just be pick up the nearest man, honestly, at this point. Jokic making life a little easier at this point, just kind of hanging out at the three-point line the last couple of possessions. Maybe not attacking the mismatches in the post, just like a crazy offensive guy would, or a crazy offensive scorer would. Oh, and Peyton Watson, who of course has continued to step up here for Denver, has with the block right there, Johnson on the drive, and Watson just absorbs that layup attempt. Pause. Hey, yo. Shout out, of course, his wingspan and the defense has been the building blocks of the career. We've seen the offense start to evolve here a little bit, but I mean, even his defense has become more menacing as well too, as he's gotten more run and ability to just run out there and kind of terrorize stuff on the court. So shout out. I mean, definitely in the moment, there are some blocks like that where you're just like, oh, don't try that over Wemby. Oh yeah, he snatched that one. That one was like, oh, wait a second. Where did the Peyton Watson arms come from there? Hey, yo. Because he, again, kind of snatched that out of nowhere. But shout out. You got to respect the highlight plays when they happen. So Jokic with Harrison Barnes this time in the post. Oh, chat. It's personal against Harrison Barnes. He was waiting for that matchup to attack and score. Oh! Somehow the Jokic patch turns into a turnover. I think it was the pass from Zeke Naji off of the Jokic pass. But still, anything that Jokic is orchestrating on offense, you just assume is going to go well. So a turnover there, we'll take it. A three on the other end by Carter Bryant. Whoa! Right in Jokic's eye, chat. Pew, pew. Hey, yo. Carter Bryant is welcome to the NBA game in the NBA Cup, NBA West Group C on the line. Spurs cut it to 6 here, but clutch 3 there with the little bit of space given by Jokic. Less than 2 minutes left. Ooh. They give up the floater to Bruce Brown. He misses. Keldon Johnson with the save, and the Spurs got the possession going the other way. So the Fox pick and roll, as you'd expect, is initiated. But he has been a little... Oh! It's not like he's been reluctant to shoot offensively. It's just he's been doing a good job of distributing, and the other guys have been making shots. I mean, right there, Keldon Johnson makes another shot. 65% on the quarter. I mean, the role guys stepping up in the clutch against a team like Denver without Wemby is, we're just seeing encouraging performances all over the place tonight, chat. Hey, yo, Arch with the best performance of his career. We're seeing Carter Bryant with the best of his career, but, the Spurs role guys out there competing against a top-level team with their best player, in a matchup that you could see being played out later in the season as well, too. I've never seen the post-game interview for the player, with Archie Manning with Molly McGrath. Shout out. Hey, yo. I've never seen it have to be like a sky cam zoomed in down on him, but I don't even know if they can get a cameraman on the field right now with the, the packed fans and the team and everybody milling around. It is a high-level environment right now in Texas. Shout out. So I know once they get to a certain level, of course, as much as we love Arch Manning and cheer for his success, the team success, immediately other team success does hit us the wrong way. Again, in the moment, we get excited about the plays, we get caught up. It is what it is. But you see him cheering after win, you're like, oh no, that's supposed to be that's just the maize and blue, chat. That's just the maize and blue. That part is the maize and blue. Arch Manning can make great throws, they can score touchdowns, but the wins and the losses, chat, the wins go to the maize and the blue. That's how it goes. But me, I don't know if we go back and check every record book over the last couple of years, but a couple years ago, chat, Jim Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, and the signal reading, the wins go to the maize and blue. That's how it goes. But we'll see if the wins go to the Spurs tonight. Down 1. Oh, Fox with the pump fake. Carter Bryant not taking the opportunity there, but honestly, the right move. So just seeing him make good moves all over the place because it leads to a Kelly Olynyk wide open 3. I mean, some people say Kelly Olynyk is discount Jokic. I mean, I'm sure Weech said that when we got him, right? IT, check the tapes and, go, use AI to make sure we said that back in the day because that'd be a good prediction for this game right here. We said he was going to hit a clutch 3 on the day after Thanksgiving in a game against Denver, against his Jedi Master, Nikola Jokic. But De'Aaron Fox, again, the point guard skills, the distribution, the command of the offense has been top tier. Olynyk off the screen. Whoa! They were running a three-pointer there for Olynyk. I don't know if that was the move, but... Oh, wait a second. Oh, Chad, it's only the third quarter. I assumed 101 to 103. We were in the fourth. I wasn't even paying attention. Okay. Third quarter. We're in for a treat in this fourth. I think the fourth, we might have to go. I don't know if our voice will be able to hold up for a fourth quarter here. But, hey, we closed it to 1 to end the third. So we'll take that. We'll take that. It is what it is. Shout out. 44 to 30. Outscored them in the third. And 41. It's been a battle of the quarters here so far. Each team taking their turns. Pause. So hopefully it doesn't mean Denver runs away with it here in the fourth. But we got OKC up 12 versus Phoenix. The Jazz versus the Kings in a combined 10 wins that nobody cares about. We'll keep it moving. Mavs. Oh, the Luka revenge game. Chat. Cooper Flag in LA. Snatching the crown from Luka Doncic. Hey, yo, is Cooper Flag even playing tonight? He's got 7. I guess it's the PJ Washington revenge game and the Davis revenge game. Hey, it's on Prime. Ooh, chat. We might, I guess we're not going to replace the Spurs game, but our guy Davis is 3 for 5 right now. Just the fact that Anthony Davis is back. I feel bad I didn't even know. Shout out. I feel like we're up there. We're definitely second team all Anthony Davis fan pods. Honestly, we might be first. Is there even an Anthony Davis fan pod out there? So I guess we might just be first team all Anthony Davis fan pod by default. But Reeves has 19. Doncic has 18. And Ayton is in double digits. I guess LeBron 1 for 4 to start, but still he has 6 assists. So wait, let's check the bench scoring real quick. Does Jaden Hardy have a ton of points? Is he even still on the team? Who is playing well? Oh, wait, I was going to say that's the Lakers. LaRavia maybe could step up in the second half as well too. If we're just saying as not LaRavia needs to step up. I'm just saying he has had, of course, good offensive performances, so he is capable of that, we should say, in the second half. But hey, it has been balanced from all the guys. Najee Marshall was 7, Thompson was 7, Brandon Williams was 6. They haven't really shot the ball. I guess 48%. They're doing okay. The Lakers at 58%. Is it just field goal attempts? It's just field goal attempts. So I would say rebounds as well too, but the Lakers have out-rebounded the Mavs. So have the Mavs they've gotten to the free throw line only once more, and the Lakers are shooting 58% from the field, and the Mavs have only made one more 3. Chat, I guess, it is really, really close. It's literally just like the free throws that we mentioned. We're discounting their importance. They've only made one more free throw and one more 3. So that apparently has made up the difference of the field goals. It honestly has. So, or just the amount of opportunities. The math is not mathing. But I guess offensive rebounds. Wait a second. If most of their rebounds are offensive, then that would make sense as well too. But in general, the Lakers have outdone the... Oh, here we go. Team stats. I was trying to figure out how to find offensive rebounds. Just 2 for the Lakers. So to 4 for the Mavs. So, a couple of opportunities extra there for Dallas, but nothing too crazy so far. So, both even. The trade is even at this point. And I guess the Mavs are up barely on the trade. So we'll see what happens. If the Mavs win this game and go to 4-14 and the Los Angeles Lucers, I don't know if that's something that we can say, but if we can, it is kind of funny. So hopefully we can. But yeah, shout out. We will see y'all, like we said, Sunday for the week. Are we on week 13? Hey, yo, chat, the Week 13 live stream. Be here. We will be watching whatever NFL games are left for the week and catching up on the ones that happened, of course, over. Somehow we did a Friday episode, and I guess if we just watch the Texas game, that's going to take care of most of it. But too much drama to lock in for an NFL game recap. It is what it is. So we will focus on that on Sunday, and then, of course, throughout the week, be back on that schedule. Like we said, maybe we just hunker down and be live all week. We're supposed to have a crazy storm this tonight, but I don't know what it's looking like right now. Can we do a live check? Ooh, chat! It is starting to snow a little bit. We did have some. I don't know if we got that on mic or not, but it is starting to snow a little bit out there. So we did have some family traveling. Shout out. Our mom was getting our grandma from somewhere, and they were driving, but they got back plenty in time. So we're all good. So, everybody's off the roads, I guess, is the point. Everybody's safe. Really, we haven't got like crazy work schedules over the weekend, fortunately. So, we can kind of hunker down tomorrow if the snow gets really bad. But I do want to go to the gym in the morning, so hopefully it's not too bad. But, the shout out, the snow removal guys are locked in, and they're ready to go as well, too. They want the snow. I mean, shout out, it's their business. So, they do want the snow from that aspect. But I think there is like maybe it's for the lifers. I mean, anybody in any career that's like really committed, there is just a game day mentality that you can't have, like approaching your job. You're like, hey, this is me walking the tunnel into the game, right? Like into work right now. I can hear the music from the restaurant bumping, like, walking through the tunnel. But the guys with the snow plows, like there is some of those, there is a real game day mentality. Like they're ready to attack the parking lots with the snow plows. It is what it is. They will get out there, not even bright and early, in the winter. It's, just in terms of, we're talking, daylight here. We're just talking dark and early. I don't know what we can say there, but they're out there in the mornings working and getting everything cleared away. But I guess we were saying, because we were talking to this one group at the restaurant. They were trying to book an event, and then they just kept calling and being like, I don't know, I think we're gonna get, like, we really want to get out there and plow this snow, so we might cancel this event. It's like, well, we need to know by this day, so if you want to go out there and plow, just let us know, and we'll reschedule. And they're like, if you want to go out there and plow, hey, yo, pause. But if you want to go out there and take care of maybe take care of the snow, not really a pause, but maybe a double entendre. I don't know. Is it entendre? I guess phrasing is that's a Rosillo thing. So that could be, but entendre could be different as well too, because entendre could be like, again, it could be clever. It could be like playing with the snow. It's not necessarily, again, I guess playing with the snow could be sexual, but it could also be something else as well too. So maybe it just goes in entendre category. I guess IT will have to workshop a term for that, but I guess point being, yeah, who knows what the point was. The point is, we will be back Sunday for the live stream. One last ramble off the trails, rant off the trails, ramble off the train. I don't, who knows what we're doing, chat. But I guess you have to just wander through a couple hours of a live stream to find out. That's the only way. Subscribe, stay tuned. It is what it is. We'll be back Sunday, assuming we don't get swallowed up this weekend in the snow. Pause. Hey, yo. It is what it is. Is that a Pusha T bar? It might be. Okay, we're done, chat. We'll see y'all later. Enjoy your weekend. Peace.